not a hero, he's a criminal. Shut up!
The word decent doesn't apply to me.
Hey, everybody. What's going on? It's me, your buddy Admiral Teague, and I'm here with my good friend Resolute Germ. Hey, Germ.
Hello.
Well, I don't know if you saw my post, but I've been posted a little less on X these days, a little less. And I know a lot of you are very disappointed. I know a lot of people have come up to me with some literally with tears in their eyes saying, Admiral, sorry, you have to post more. But here's the deal. This 3 o'clock thing has worked out like I never really expected it to when I set out to just kind of make a statement. This is just the way it's going to be. There could still be room for some accommodations if people want to play ball and be cool. And as far as like people speaking about pundits going on other shows, go on other shows. Feel free to go on Comic Relief Crusader. I don't have any say in it. He has his show. I have mine. Padawannabe was on there the other day. He's still my friend. Appion was on there all the time. He's still my friend. None of that stuff really matters to me. So let's just clear the air of that one. Like, everyone has their own free will. Like, I'm still going to kind of, you're going to get judged by the company you keep. But that to me seems to be just sort of, basic, right? For everyone. Hello, buddy. And anybody here, do me a favor, tweet out that I'm live. I'm only starting to publicize that this is happening next week. Probably start on Tuesday. Today, I did tweet out something earlier in the day, and I might try to go a little more aggressive on it, but the weekday, daytime stuff has been going well. So that's where that one's at. So, Germ, did you catch we were saying before, you didn't see the video, but you and I appeared together, well, our avatars appeared, and I wished Doomcock a happy birthday on Wednesday. It went well.
Yeah, that's what I hear. He had a little montage of video clips of everyone wishing him happy birthday.
Ours was very different from everyone else's.
I guess so.
Yeah, we just ours was like the only like testimonial. A lot of people did little skits. I guess it was cool, but I mean, like, ours was just like, hey, happy birthday. Only a couple of those, but like a lot of them were great. Like, we got to see Doomcock's wrenches and mods that we don't always see, like Apple 2GS and other people. It was fantastic to see Apple 2GS. I love him. And his talking about being a mod and how much he loved it. That was great. And it was great to celebrate Doomcock's birthday. Fun time for all. And, Doom seemed to enjoy himself. Happy birthday again to Doomcock. Although I think at this point it's yesterday. But, I hope he had a good day.
Yeah, definitely. Happy birthday to the future ruler of Earth.
That's right. Our affairs are in space. When we finally get to Earth, we'll negotiate about what part our people will set the fleet down upon. But that'll be later on. So yeah, happy birthday to the future ruler of Earth. And Germ, I'm seeing so many videos right now that are like weird. They're very atmospheric, and they use Creative Commons video stuff, like the Creative Commons license from YouTube. So in other words, for you guys out there, non-copyrighted, allowable to be reused YouTube stuff where you sort of say, come and take it, it's fine. So what do you, I'm trying to figure this one out, whether it's just a few people or like in a more reflective mode or whatever. Is it reused content people are afraid of? Is it uncertainty? Or do you think it's the new YouTube ad policy that's filtering into all this? Or is it in my head that there's so many more videos that are just showing cityscapes, rivers, woods, fountains while the guy's speaking?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of uncertainty. There's been a lot of claims lately about material that used to be completely usable. I know some of the clips I have been grabbed the last few weeks. Even just the other day, one of them that's been on there for about a year and a half. Apparently the studio doesn't like it being up there anymore. So it's just a lot of uncertainty.
But a claim, or was there any damage beyond the claim?
No damage. It's just, hey, we don't want you having this up here anymore.
I haven't gotten that yet, but I don't have that many full-on video essays, but it is weird. I mean, I watched a Critical Drinker essay from like 4 years ago, and his video samples were like 7-8 seconds long and stuff like that. it was a lot different than what we have to deal with today. So it's always evolving. I'll tell you this, I'll be happy for some clarity on this one. You know what I mean? Just knowing what's going on and a clear set of rules. Like, I won't be happy if they set a preposterously low amount of seconds per fair use. Like, if they cut it down to like 2.5 seconds, it'd be crazy, and people would get whiplash, right? So everyone would just have a slideshow and be battle of the slideshows. I guess it would
Yeah.
even the ground, but I don't know. Just want to know it.
Hell, it'd be a lot easier to make the slideshows, but all this stuff is
They're
just
not as
promotion.
engaging though.
Yeah, these studios need to realize that, like with the intros that I put up and with the reviews, Walton reviews that Gorilla puts up, and even the 1923 and the other Yellowstone reviews you do, this
Yes.
is all pushing to stuff like Paramount. Paramount Plus, I guarantee you YouTube gets them at least a good 10-15% of their subscribers.
You see the show next to a review about it. The show's sitting there advertised, and you punch right through YouTube into Paramount Plus, and you subscribe right there, or you buy an episode. It's right there next to my reviews a lot of the time. And I will say this: I don't know if we were spared the evil hand of correction by Paramount, because with 1923, I didn't have to lie. I was happy with the show. It was the worst episode was a B minus, right? It was like, did it ever do worse than B minus with anybody? Maybe Crimlon gave it 1C. And
Yeah, I don't think it ever did worse.
The end, I'm beginning to think the end of 1923 was about as good as streaming can do. At least we had a meaningful. You know what? Isn't it kind of like streaming seems to be this? It's not broadcast TV. It's a lot like being a mediocre baseball team. Like, it's you don't know whether to go for it. It's a streaming show, so it's limited in its scope, right? It's not Battlestar Galactica's weird streaming thing where they tried to just get renewed for one more miniseries over and over, and that kind of works out for them. It's even weirder than that with streaming. So with 1923, I think we did the only thing we have to judge it the way fans of a mediocre baseball team judge them, because they are in a mediocre baseball team style competition. So all I can say is this. This is going to sound so weird, but you'll get the analogy. You ready? 1923 brought meaningful baseball right up to the end of September with their story. Some of it was ugly.
Yeah, that's a good example. I would equate streaming more to, say, college football. You have all sorts of different levels, but they all interact. In theory,
this show made the bowl games then. That would have to, 1923 made the bowl games. And by the way, guys, if you're out there, welcome. Thank you for joining me. Hit those like and follows. And if you're listening later, YouTube has a new ad policy, kind of restrictive. People are, going to see it more and more in the next few days. I've seen a few things. I don't know if it was the actual YouTuber or the new policy being rolled out. Ads baked in, other stuff. I'm going low ads. Live, there'll be none. On replay, there'll be, minimal. I try to go like much longer than even TV. I go about as long as my engagement rate. At 50% of my engagement rate is about how long you have to wait to get the first commercial. So about half an hour. Because we do fairly good live. You know what? We can't get everyone in the world online at once. We got a lot of America at work. But if you're at lunch, hope you're having a good one, and hope you're having a good lunch. I know that. And I guess the thing I would have to point out on our schedule here is that I think, sadly, the micro-focused YouTube empire, a micro-focused Disney empire might be too big to fail for 10 more years. So let's think about that one for a minute. And I'll just say, you said you haven't run into the baked-in ad yet, where it's just a QVC code over half the video?
Haven't run into that yet, no.
A lot of people are being encouraged to watch YouTube in a way that gets them out of paying their creators, is my impression. So if you are listening and you could leave the browser open for a few minutes, that's like a critical matrix for YouTube. They kind of count on people to listen to shows like this one in a more passive radio like way, open up another tab and do some work. So I get it, and I hope that I'm entertaining you, but I could use your help if you open up the browser for a few minutes while you listen to me and hook me up with a couple of likes. It would be appreciated. Anyway, that's the new policies over here at the Red Band Network, where, you know, we have chosen to plant our flag. This is the life we chose for ourselves, right, Jared? What are you going to do? As soon as we figure it out, they'll change it again? Safe to say?
Yeah, it's kind of like a woman. You get an idea, and then they can't tolerate it, so it has to change.
You know what? Speaking of change, one thing that has changed in the last year is we've been seeing J.J. Abrams pushing harder and harder to try to make some sort of comeback and be somehow relevant. So he's got a new thing that I'm going to advise everyone to avoid. It's called Duster. I think it might be that the guy drives a Duster. It's got every bad, tropey, frightening, stand back and shiver J.J. Abrams thing going for it. It's taking place in a retro-futuristic 1970, right? So we got that.
Gee, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, but that's going to be the veneer they throw on every bad idea for a while. And also, it has, get this, it's a comedy crime drama with a lot of violence. So it's like, I guess, non-science fiction attempted to be funny, Section 31. I don't know how to put it. More kooky crime drama.
You'd think they'd get another shtick. You got CSI and the Criminal Intent and Special Victims Unit. That's more than enough for the airports of the United States to be flooded with.
You're kind of right. It's sort of true. You know, one, like, really quick on that topic, all those specialized crime shows, did you know that for a while there, they were saying they're making real life crimes much harder to solve because they're giving away too many investigative police methods?
I have a hard time believing that. I've seen those shows. Those are not highly accurate.
Little things that the cops used to count on, people got smart about. Like, for instance, people started cleaning up shell casings. People stopped peeing on their victims. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Think about someone who never spent a minute doing anything but working out and thinking about how to be more of a thug. Think about Aaron Hernandez. You know what I'm talking about? The late Aaron Hernandez, New England.
Oh,
patriot.
yeah.
Do you remember that he killed at least one person, and they think as many as 3, if I'm correct here. And do you remember what got him caught?
The fact that he had a functional IQ of somewhere around the salamander.
The salamander would beat him in any kind of an IQ test. But what do you call it? He spat his gum into the bullet holes of his victims after he would blow them away. Spit his gum on them.
That's just stupid.
Patently stupid. Patently stupid. Oh my God. What are you, a fly? You need to salivate in your prey? I mean, before you eat. What next? I hesitate to ask. The thing about him that I find most amusing, though, is he ends up in a stadium, in a prison, like within earshot of the stadium, where he gets to listen to everybody like cheering when everything happens. That's
probably why he didn't last too long.
I think it was rumors that he was maybe not straight, they said, contributed to that, and that he thought incorrectly an insurance policy might pay out for him if that was the case. Or he may have had one on his career where if he didn't play it for whatever reason, and then it was like, I don't know what it was, but you know, he was never getting out, right? But this Duster thing, it's from J.J. Abrams of Lost, and it stars Josh Holloway from Lost, if you remember him. And they're calling it a violent comedy. I'm going to guess it's going to be bad at both. The last thing we saw from J.J. Abrams, I don't know, did you watch it with me, or did you only watch the video about it with Batman Woke Loser, the Cape Crusader thing he did?
I just got the gist of it from you. I
It
couldn't bring myself to
was.
watch that.
If you love the animated series, you probably would never watch it. It was that bad. Guys, if you haven't caught this, and hey, it's RRTNZ. Hey, gotta go back to work soon. Here's some Welsh to start your day. Is this a? Is let me take a look at this. It's good to see you, RRTNZ. Welcome to the show. Ever so briefly, what do we have in Welsh to start my day? Let me see. Oh, it's RRTNZ himself, so I guess we could share this with you. Let's see. Reporting from the field is our friend RRTNZ. You like that, Germ? We've got field correspondents now.
Oh, nice. Moving up in the world.
We are moving up. Now, here's RRTNZ. You may be familiar with him from our show. And, a good friend of ours. Let's see what he has to say. He's going to talk to us about Beth knock off. Well, let's see.
Im mis gorffen afnasa, a i'r game Wrexham yn erbyn Wellington Phoenix, y game pêl-droed. Cyffroes iawn. Felly, nes I archebu y Cris o'r tîm pêl-droed genedlaethol Cymru wedi newydd cyrraedd. Ond,
Sorry, buddy, I forgot.
efallai, beth yw y gair Cymraeg am knock-off? Dim problem.
I'm guessing that he's saying he's got a Welsh soccer jersey that's a knockoff. It looks like Adidas to me. Hey, Lombardi, good to see you.
Yeah, Lombardi. As far as I can tell, it has something to do with soccer.
Anal Nathrak Uthros Dethros Bechelviende. It sounded like the charm of making from Excalibur, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Possibly vaguely French because it's Gaelic or Celtic. I guess Celtic and Gaelic are pretty much the same freaking thing. Celtic might be like one. I guess Celtic might be the overarching family, and then you got Gaelic as like a subgroup. Who knows? These languages didn't survive and became American, which then was exported back to England. A lot of people don't. Did you know that everyone left England and came here for a while and then went back, and that's why we call it American? It was actually empty for a few years. That's why it's nicer over there now. They gave it a few years to just regenerate.
Yeah, it's they might need something like that again. They got some problems.
England is in the news all day, every day. It seems like they're like either 6 months behind or 6 months ahead of us in the chain of causality and events, or both countries are caught in a 6 month chain of causalities and events which like interlock and overlap at different times. There just seems to be a rising, let's just say, a rising enthusiasm for right-wing ideas in both nations and rising acceptance, I suppose.
That's what happens when you get flooded with around, I believe they got up to 15 to 20% of non-native born people, a large chunk of which are on public assistance, and they're literally taking people's property away to house them. That tends to make a certain population a little radical.
We're not like news gatherers, but we live in the real world, and like we can give an opinion. It just seems like I don't even think it's a radicalization. You can't call it that. It is what it is. Rising enthusiasm for ideas identified with the political right, where people are just like, enough's enough. Like you said, if that's very high, if almost 1 in 5 British people is not born in England, you've increased your population by like 6 or 7% overall by infusing that many people, and now like almost 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 of your people, is not native born. Now that is not a bad thing, and we've probably been at a higher percentage in America, but we're talking 19th century. The thing is, do they want to assimilate? Are they there to be like, the United Kingdomers, that the best United Kingdomers they could do? Hey, John the Beagle Dad, right? Are they there to be the best United Kingdomers they can be, or are they there to be people from like wherever they came from in the first place, just living somewhere else, which has various degrees of acceptability depending upon how hard you export it, I suppose, from your home. Within your home, I think everybody's willing to turn a blind eye. If you want to live your certain lifestyle, you do it.
Yeah. Let's just say there's a great deal of remittance being paid out.
Right.
A lot of that money is not staying in country.
In England as well as Canada, I think we found out that in their constitution, it's written in what constitution they have. Canada has a 1981 document that I think was first drafted in 1960, but 1981 was the Google date that they give you for the document of the Canadian Constitution, because that's when they achieved full independence, or when like they made it official. Oh, RRTNZ, great deduction. That was indeed what I said. In Welsh, it's a Brythonic language. Gaelic, Irish Scots is a different thing, but excellent knowledge, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Well, you know what? I believe, well, no, Cornwall's not Wales. We talked about this one, but like the guy who made Excalibur, like he was a big, huge Britophile because yeah, he made Excalibur, right? Although, from what I understand, he wanted to go in like a Star Warsy kind of direction, and like the next best thing was going to be, or he was thinking Star Warsy, or he was thinking Lord of the Rings, because like he's got Zardoz before that, so he's thinking sci-fi or ring lore fantasy. And thank you, Welsh is a Brythonic language. I love that I get to say words like that in the chat on my show. Thank you so much, RTNZ, for your generous $5 New Zealand super chat. And it's good to see RTNZ here and everybody like just hanging out. All right, so the new J.J. Abrams show does not seem appealing. It's called Duster. It's on Max. How people are going to pay money for this is beyond me. The last J.J. Abrams thing that Jerm and I are familiar with, I watched most of it. It was really effing bad. And yesterday on our show, last night I think on our show, there was a poll. And I guess I could ask you what you think, yes or no on this one. Yes or no, Resolute Germ. The 1990s Batman and Superman animated series set an impossible bar for losers who write today to match.
Yes, definitely.
It was like 85% yes.
Probably the peak of superhero animation you can get, because that spawned the DC animated universe from 1992 to I believe it was 2005 or 2003 to 2005 when Justice League Unlimited ended. That's the most successful DC has been on screen in its entire existence.
You're right about that. Just really quick, by the way, the charm I'm making is definitely a form of Irish or Gaelic. Good to know. All I know is when they speak it, it's so damn hypnotic that even though you have no idea what they're saying, you're like, it's got to have something to do with the dragon and the sword and all that other stuff and the breath of the dragon that Merlin keeps talking about, and probably just that. And it's like so hypnotic when Helen Mirren is saying it, and like there's smoke coming out of her mouth, and she's hot as could be. It's just like, it was really funny. There's a group chat from my channel for the 1923 and 1883 panel. And so in it the other day, we shared a 1980 picture of Helen Mirren side by side with a picture of her from 1923. And Jerm, you want to comment? Helen Mirren 1980? Wow, huh?
She definitely looks a lot different.
You can't even tell it's the same person, although her acting power is intact. She was always a good actress. The thing is, she would have been arguable. If we could have made every woman on that show 30 at the same time, Helen Mirren possibly is going to be the best looking one. It was weird how much like just how sexy she was, but we're used to seeing her as this grandmotherly type. As far as Excalibur goes, all the John Boorman movies, they kind of fall off a little after this one. They're pretty good though. Emerald Forest is just so weird, Jeremy is speaking the absolute truth. The DCAU is the bar for any animated superhero universe. The Justice League series were amazing. I gotta agree. I concur with all this. And it even knew when to take its foot off the gas. It was cognizant of what it was and how many episodes it had. To take time out for something as purely amusing as The Condiment King is a gift to us, because they had earned an episode like that. In modern writing, what happens? We try to do Bravery and The Condiment King in the first shot, along with the Joker, and steal from the middle and end of the story to make the beginning just so effing big. And that and the same old tropes are what J.J. Abrams was guilty of with Batman, the animated Batman Cape Crusader, it was called. And what they did was, this should have worked out, Jerm, but tell me this doesn't sound great. We got back every animator from Batman, the animated series. Doesn't that sound great?
Yeah, that would be great. And I'll admit, the show actually looked good.
Most of it. Yeah.
The problems were in the writing and the certain choices of character, let's say, because I can't. YouTube doesn't
not
like me
deep
pointing out
changes.
certain. Yeah.
Well, for one thing, we took Bullock and we got rid of him. If you know who Bullock is the heavy, sloppy white male cop who sort of is in charge of homicides in Gotham, and he's imperfect, but he really is a decent guardian who tries to be a good cop. But he's so crazy. My favorite episode of the animated series with Bullock is he creates crime too by mistake because he's such a terrible person as far as his mannerisms and stuff. And his apartment is so horrible that his landlord tries to kaboom boom it and ends up in jail. And that guy is only a criminal because of Bullock.
Yeah, he was great fun. And now, no Bullock.
Bullock has been like basically what they did was they swapped Bullock and they created him into Ortegas. Ortegas comes up later. Is that do I have the name right? Is Ortega?
I believe it's Maria Ortega, I believe. That's supposed to be his partner.
Maria Ortega is his partner who comes on after a season or two. We see Bullock once or twice, and he seems to be like a solo guy. Then we get to know like more about his world, and his partner is like Ortega. And she is as capable as Bullock. She's a female, so she's not like as physically brutal, but like she'll shoot somebody or pistol whip them. She's tough, and she's got a lot of smarts. And what they did was they took everything away from her, and they made her into Bullock and Ortega together by making her big fat Ortega. Fair enough?
Yeah.
What was your feeling seeing big fat Ortega? I felt cheated.
At first, I thought it was Bullock.
I was like, the first thing you got was they gender swapped and race swapped Bullock, and then you slowly come to realize it's like, no, they just body positivity to Ortega and got rid of Bullock altogether. And I guess that's the thing is when you write these things, you're so ideologically handcuffed. And at the time, someone said to me, the show doesn't suck because J.J. Abrams is there. J.J. Abrams is there because it was meant to suck. And there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It might be true. But I think at this point, though, we've seen JJ unmasked as the ultimate one-trick pony. What is he doing? It's always the same kind of boring thing. JJ is out there with, race swapping, gender swapping, and like unbelievable female heroes. The last time anybody cared about what he did was Alias, when it was an at least original idea and kind of tongue-in-cheek dumb. And like, I guess like a lot of it was like, let's look at beautiful Jennifer Garner. And now like he's like actually ashamed of stuff like that. So if he were to ever show us a beautiful actress again, he would ugly her up. So even in his cartoons, he's uglied up all the women. The Penguin, gender swapped and ugly. And of course, the thing is, big, fat, gender swapped Penguin, voiced by Minnie Driver, doing an American accent. Why was she even? Why Minnie? You know what I mean? Why?
Yeah, Minnie Driver really shouldn't be doing voice work.
She was fine as an American female, but she wasn't a penguin. It was a normal American voice. And the stuff they had her doing, this is in everything that comes off of the Bad Robot tree. This is in all Secret Hideout stuff too. Germ, a while back, I said to you, on a show, you may have heard me say this a few times, that the people from Bad Robot and Bad Hangout and Secret Robot, how's that? The people from Bad Hangout and Secret Robot are like hung up on like their second year of college where they almost failed out. And that's why all characters are exactly like a underachieving college student. They're snarky. They're too cool to be normal. They're sort of immoral. They don't seem to know what the fuck's going on. They all have the same black leather jacket and the same 5 CD changer songs. Like, it's really just a 90s college experience from all these 50-year-olds. And now if JJ shows us a beautiful woman, he would just dress her in a suit of armor. He would never let us quote-unquote male gaze down a woman again.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. They all do remind me of the college camps up here where, unfortunately, they've already peaked in life, and it's not going to get any better the rest of their life.
it's not so bad to peak in college. You know, obviously it's a good time of your life. I mean, as long as the drop off isn't like the drop off for Thunderbolts or Snow White, you know, as long as your life is more like, you know, Iron Man, where it's like you start out like pretty good, then it gets better, like real great, like word of mouth makes things even better. You have your day, and then the drop off is like, even looking back on it, it's like, damn, that Iron Man won, despite the fact that the rest of the MCU, good movie. I'd watch it again right now, wouldn't you?
Compared to some other stuff, yeah, I'd watch it again.
Do you think that one just got watched too much, or are you now just that sick of Marvel?
I gave up on Marvel a long time ago.
Their latest thing does not look good. Yesterday we watched the video for we watched the trailer for Ironheart. This Ironheart character, like we said, was a 2016 comic book character. Their problem here is that there's a prawn character from, is it South Korea or Japan, where it wasn't meant to be satirization of Ironheart, was it?
No, it's meant as a parody for Iron Man. Disney's problem is
It beat them to everything.
yeah, they beat them to it by a couple of years, and they either
2013
are
or 14
cheating
prawn
that
movie.
yeah, they're either cheating that company or they had to make a deal with them already to use
They're
that
paying
name.
them. They're paying them. No, it's a licensing deal. They just licensed it. They paid for it. This has been a fact of life for them for like whatever 10 years since they made that freaking mistake. You know, it's like simple Google search could have avoided this, but whatever. That's just the biggest corporation in the world, right? It's like, hey, Harrison, can you do us a favor? You're making a bunch of money as Indiana Jones 3 reshoots. Can you just Google this name and make sure that it works out?
I don't care.
No, Harrison, really, just please do it. Okay, could you just do it for us?
Enhance 15 to 23.
There you go. We got him on point now. Hopefully he'll get that information. But that doesn't seem like anyone even bothers to really check. You would think that they'd have a lawyer who put like a whole day into making sure that things were clear on this, but it really is weird. And I guess one of the things that's really shaken me is all the people reporting that I don't think there's enough creative accounting in the world to make this happen. I think it's a lot like McDonald's where they own the real estate. I think it's a lot like they have the cruise ships in the parks, and Disney somehow made money last quarter. A lot of this might be that the reshoots and failures, the front load of the cost was probably a couple of years ago for a lot of this. So it seems to me like, first of all, I find it believable. I saw a testimonial about a family going to Disney World, and they just kept showing every single receipt as they went through their day, and the guy just narrated it, and it was like a slideshow of pictures of the family at Disneyland, and it was a very believable narration and a very believable one receipt after another. And it's been 10 years, but I've been to Disneyland, so I wasn't too shocked. But man, so I did this last night with Criminal and Radioactive. They didn't come close. They were one was way too low, one was way too high. Let's see how you do. Family of 4, day trip, no hotel. So day trip, they didn't count gas. So like you appear at the gate from the minute you start paying to walk in to be there to leave. They didn't go super crazy. They went modest, but they had to feed 4 people. They were there all day. What do you think the total cost was, family of 4?
I'm gonna go, if you got a good deal, at least 2,800.
Not that bad, but bad. It was $1,400. It was $1,381. But like all they did was walk
He got
around
a
outdoors
tremendous
for
deal.
them.
He
I
didn't
don't
ride
know
in,
about
he didn't
that.
take those kids on rides. He didn't buy those kids souvenirs.
No, he bought limited souvenirs. They got the pass to go on the rides. Here's the thing, Disney World, in Florida, the one they went to, doesn't have a whole shitload in the way of rides, which is why Universal's going to hurt it. They're going to have to open a whole sub park called Disney like Thrills or something like that, where you just go there and it's just like typical Six Flags type amusement stuff. Because let's face it, you don't have to reinvent the Ferris wheel. It's, people like to ride Ferris wheels. People like to ride merry-go-rounds. People also like log flumes. People also like bumper cars. People like more traditional amusement park stuff. If you haven't been to Disneyland, it is not so much an amusement park. It's a theme park.
Yeah.
Best way I can think to put it. In every sense of the word. It's a theme park. But like a lot of stuff is just there to be looked at. right? And hey, it's the oldest gamer. It's good to see you, my friend. Cool new avatar. I'm digging that. The oldest gamer is going out there. Let me tell you something. I believe more in that Captain America than the one I just saw in theaters a few months ago. And for one family of four to go to Disneyland, here's the thing, Jerm. That day at Disneyland, remember, he can only stay there as long as the park's open. That's still for four people $180 an hour every hour.
That's insane.
What was it like the 90 minutes where they only stood online and didn't spend money, you know? And then he had to go like feed them or something between, you know what I mean? Like a round of sodas is like $40, $50, you know what I mean? It's like nothing cheap. So it's good to see everybody. Yes, he is the hero we need. John Wick is Captain America. Honestly, not John Wick, but Keanu. Keanu could reinvigorate almost any franchise. We've talked a few times about the hypothetical Jedi Master, Jedi Padawan movie with him and Timothy Chalamet, which I think it would work. What do you think, Jerm?
Yeah, those two and pretty much anything could reinvigorate a franchise.
If we gave them a chance to have something of a father-son-like relationship, Chalamet getting a little close to 30, he's been around, but still, the age difference is there, you know what I mean? A mentoring relationship. Obviously, the longer we wait, the older Timothy Chalamet gets, but Chalamet, he's got his following, he's got his fans, he successfully played a a physical combat kind of guy with a magic system. He's good for like the role of a Jedi. So is Keanu. He can be anything. If we wanted to reboot Star Wars, we could do it on a distant planet with just Master Keanu and like Padawan Timothy Chalamet. We could do it. And think about how daring that would be, Germ. No mystery, and it's two male leads, and they're both white.
Disney would never go for it.
I know. Too bad Zack Snyder's a total idiot. I read somewhere that they have totally and completely ended the Grain Wars thing that he did. Was it Rebel Moon? Rebel Moon is officially over. They're like, there won't be any more Rebel Moon. It's done. So I guess while it remains this idea that he could shop, wasn't it like one good week and then Universal ridicule? Near Universal ridicule?
I didn't even remember it for a week. Did the second part ever even come out?
It did come out, and people ridiculed it again, but it was not as loud. The thing with Zack Snyder has been this, and he has his defenders. What happens is Zack Snyder's, like, his fandom is cyclical. What happens is there's just been a Zack Snyder project not too long ago, so it starts to grow because it's been far enough in the past. It's not too recent. So as the Zack Snyder stuff goes further into the past, it's been a while since Rebel Moon Part 2, like 8-9 months now, right? Like, the sting of the fact it was garbage starts to go away a little bit, and people are like, Watchmen, Zack Snyder, Watchmen, he's great. His Superman was, was like iconic looking, and it's like, kind of. It's like, he had some great shots, and like, undeniably, and it's like, his stories were great. It's like, well, hold on, let's just back up for a second. Like, here's one guy who obviously the cartoon really hurts, like maybe Zack Snyder more than anyone else in the Batman Superman universe. He's got a Batman who doesn't know which way's up and a Superman who's sort of immoral.
He had great casting. The other decision parts he didn't do too well on.
He had J.J. Abrams' retarded cousin, Chris Terrio, as his freaking scriptwriter, and he couldn't get anything done. But I don't know how he could read that script and think it was good, or he didn't need it doctored. There are second writers that come in and fix scripts. Carrie Fisher was still alive. What was your excuse?
Yeah, when you got both Ben Affleck and Cavill calling you a piece of shit, that's basically...
Did they turn on it? I thought they liked him, but thought he couldn't make movies.
They were nice to him, but at the end of it, it was essentially, fuck this guy, he's ruining everything.
Right. He earned their contempt through ineptitude and through his own over-promising and failure to deliver. Here's the thing. Zack Snyder seems, by all accounts, to be a very personable and likable person. His actors try hard for him, and they enjoy working for him. The problem is Zack Snyder, is not the most focused director, and he makes mistakes that are just jaw-dropping. Like, did you see Man of Steel and BVS and Justice League?
Unfortunately, yes.
So
only redeemable one is that Justice League cut because he was able to cram in so many of the cameo stuff.
It's only redeemable because that might have been information overload, but be that as it may. So here we go. We've got this crazy, Zack Snyder cycle of movies for DC. Superman's dead by movie 2.
Yeah, which was a very, let's call it, unique decision to go with the death of Superman so early.
Then we make a big show of the fact, at the end of this movie, we make a big show of there's a memorial to Superman that they think Superman is buried at, but Clark Kent's body is actually buried in the Kent family plot. This is a major part of the end of Man of Steel. I'm sorry, BVS. This is important to the end of BVS. They do a few things to make it happen. In Justice League, when Superman rises from the dead, where do they resurrect him?
To be honest, I wasn't paying attention to one time I saw that movie.
Okay, here's the deal. He's resurrected from the place where he's not buried. He's resurrected from the memorial in downtown Gotham where people only think he's buried.
Yeah, that seems to fit. They'd make that type of error.
Or just not care that people would care about something like Superman. See, this is the case for him. RTNZ correctly states this one. I enjoyed Watchmen in 300. I loved Man of Steel, but I hated BVS and Rebel Moon. I didn't mind Zack Snyder's Justice League. He's just a very mixed bag of good and really awful. I would say he's kind of like if J.J. Abrams hit his head so hard he thought he was David Lynch. He's like a mixture between the worst impulses of both.
He needs controlling. With 300 and Watchmen, he had a graphic novel that he followed exactly.
Very cool.
He
And
made
also
literally no creative decisions on any of it.
Also, the first one is one of the most well-known military engagements in the history of mankind.
That helped too. But he based it off of, I think it was Miller's 300 comic. That's where all the look came from, where all the action came from. He literally made no decisions.
It looks
for
a
that
lot
by
like
himself.
a comic.
Yeah.
Right. He was too new to do anything on his own. Then he's still kind of fledgling. Watchmen? That one's kind of a sleeper. It's like more respected than it ever was successful. And it's got more buzz now than it ever did when it was in theaters. But then, like, the success of Watchmen is so great that he becomes like second unit director for Christopher Nolan. I mean, he's Christopher Nolan, but that's not a promotion. I don't know outright bad, but Christopher Nolan, he's pretty good. And Zack Snyder, like a lot of people think Christopher Nolan's the filmmaker of our decade, but here's the thing. The 2020s were just voted the worst decade in the history of entertainment.
Yeah,
it's a 100-year low. Before talking movies. Ooh, Jerome got pushback. Snyder's Watchmen changed the ending significantly. No giant squid attack. Dr. Manhattan was the scapegoat. I couldn't finish that movie. I wasn't that into Watchmen, honestly. I like, what's her name? Gina Carjulo, or whatever the hell her name is. She's gorgeous. Or Julo? Spy Kid's mom. She's gorgeous.
That hard copy I must have is based off of the movie then. I thought that was
probably
legitimate.
Both. Wow. Okay. Also, I don't know if you know this, but in 300, actually, the ending was that they overwhelmed and destroyed the Persian horde. All the 300 of them.
Yeah,
they took a few casualties. Yeah, right. Like, let's get the 300 to England right now. They can get them in the Gartha, which is their cops, by the way, Jerm. Just so you know. In Britain, you ask for a Bobby or the Gartha, I guess. I don't know. But, so there's a J.J. Abrams show coming back. Stay away from that. His Batman thing was terrible. I guess the only other thing to really say on the Batman front was the Batman co-producer with him on that for the Cape Crusader was Batman, the Batman movie guy and the Penguin guy. It was Matt Reeves. So they did Alias together. They have a history together. And it looked like he was trying to help rehabilitate J.J. Abrams. And that Batman cartoon was so bad that DC passed on it, which is why it was on Amazon, by the way, according to Tom Connors, who I believe. And so I'm thinking that may have just been the final nail in his coffin when he's like, I can bring back your cartoon, watch. And it was like this woke piece of garbage. The freshness date on that had passed. Batman.
Yeah, I don't know why Amazon actually gave him any cash for that.
They didn't pay what it cost, and they didn't pay what it bought in, and it already existed, had been funded, and like DC was like, ew. This was when Warner Brothers was doing all the scoffing at bad Batman stuff.
Yeah, but say if I was in charge of Amazon, you're gonna have to pay me something to pollute my service with that stuff.
I think the idea here is that no one will watch it, and if they do, they'll turn it off thinking it was just boring. But you can show an exciting picture of Batman, like, beating up a guy with a machine gun. Hell, the Batman Cape Crusader is woven into the beginning of my show. That was one of my first video essays. I used, like, all that Batman action stuff is from Batman Cape Crusader. It looks just like the animated series, except it had more violence than the animated series did, and it was a little more, like, about identity politics. And it was more communism, I guess. I don't know how to put it. Batman as Bruce Wayne was a dick. He was a dick. He called Alfred by his last name. What the fuck is it again? I'm blanking.
Pennyworth.
He called Alfred Pennyworth. And Catwoman, I think, is the one who tells him to stop being such a dick to people. And he's like, they're just to help. And that he needs help. Garda are the police in Ireland. Is it legal for the Irish to have police? How do they run a country with law enforcement? In England, they're the police, aka the filth. The Rozzers, the fuzz. In Wales, they're called the Hedlu from head, which means peace. Cool. I'm just kidding about Ireland anyway. Admiral Teague's pretty Irish. Teague's an Irish.
That's okay. You can have police. It's just that when the drunken disorderlies get passed out, they have to cite themselves as well.
Ireland, like our documentary on Irish politics, I would be such a dick about. What do you think of this one? Last Call, story of a national policy. Right? And just like, play only like research what the top 25 bar songs are in Ireland and just have them play throughout it. It's just like, if any country, have you ever heard the criticism of the United States national anthem that it's really, really violent and it's far too militaristic?
I've heard some rather unstable people claim that.
Well, I know, Jerome, that you every morning when you wake up, what you do is you sing the Black national anthem, right? Raise every voice and sing.
Oh yeah, they practically play it over loudspeakers here. It's kind of like a call to prayer in certain countries.
Yeah, you're like one person who's not down with it, but you probably know most of the lyrics through sheer exposure, huh? Did that get you to buy earbuds right on in its own? Anything to drown it out, right?
Yeah, I invested in some very nice noise canceling headphones.
So, the Irish national anthem makes ours look like a Boy Scout rally call. The Irish national anthem has child soldiers and other crazy stuff in it, and it's just about how they'll fight and fight and fight, and that's just good enough for them. And I think there's even some stuff in there about how, hey, if we don't win, that's cool. We just want to fight. It was, it's an inspirational and good song, and it sounds very much from the 1920s when it was written, but it's like, with the lyrics, it's like, maybe we lose. We just want to fight. It's a little crazy. Didn't really care for Watchmen. 300 is a good story, but visually difficult for me to watch. I will say that color grading is experimentally harsh and would not be approved this year. Or ever again. That was a knock 'em dead kind of idea. He's like, here's the comic book, and look what I've done. What do you think? What do you think, Germ?
Definitely don't watch it in, say, 4K. Keep it down to like 720. Turn down the coloring a bit.
Yeah, that's all safe to say, and it's actually a fairly faithful retelling of the story of the Battle of Thermopylae. The diversity anthem was "F the Police" by NWA. Is that a diversity anthem? That's a better song than Raise Every Voice and Sing. I think, even though I'm not behind F the Police, I would sing that song first because at least it's singable, right?
Yeah, it's way better than the crap they call the Black National Anthem.
By the way, I saw our guest from last week, Pat Steven Seagal, on WW Pro this morning, and he was much more on point and hilarious. He was not talking about Kanye like last week. That Kanye song, whoa! I did give it 4 minutes of my life. I listened to 10 seconds of it, and I was like, whoa, and just walked away. But when he mentioned that, like, he thought it was kind of an okay song and vaguely hypnotic, I'm like, all right, I respect Steven. He may have had 2 or 3 beers before he came on his day off. I don't know, but I respect him. Let me listen to the song. And my impression was, there is just a vestigial trace of the fact that Kanye once did have some musical talent in the field of that kind of music. But it's sort of just the way someone puts together a fascinating cringe video. Like, they're just saying 2 words that are super horrible and 1 word that's in German. Only way to put it. 2 pejoratives in a German word. We have to say Hilter for a reason on YouTube. And I mean, I don't really agree with censoring of that name away because it has a historical meaning. And the fact that we have had so much fun with terms like Guardian does say that it's gone too far. But I don't know if invoking him in a song to make money is all that. I mean, look what we're talking about too. German, am I out of my mind at this one? Kanye might just be a freaking raving idiot.
At this point, he's a public service announcement not to mess around with Kardashians.
Do you
They'll
think
take your money, they'll take your soul, and they'll take your sanity.
Is it drugs or is it? Well, he was already insane before he met her. Remember when he made that speech during Katrina, or he made that little outburst during Katrina, and also jumped up on stage on behalf of Janet Jackson and went after Taylor Swift. Although now that's looking better.
Yeah,
Taylor
he looked
Swift's
perfectly
popularity
sane back then.
Now he does through the process, the filter of time. Although it's still really rude and improper. He sniffed too much of Kim K's booty juice, something like that. It's good to see the Trek reviewer too. By the way, it's good to see you. All I can say about this one is when I heard "F the Police" by N.W.A., I didn't agree with everything in it, but I did think that it had an energy, danceability, and rebelliousness that was at least musically intriguing and fun to listen to. Could you be horrified by something and still find it to be really good? Hey, you know what? A guy made a song called "Cop Killer," has been playing a cop for 23 years. It's art, folks. We can survive.
Yeah.
Which I guess brings us to let's go on a little side quest here. People like Kanye with this crazy thing that he said people file it away under freedom of speech. James Comey took a weird Instagram picture. It was fairly clear what it meant. It's not really that big of a deal, though. Are we going a bit too far in a few places? Should he just be shamed by people who think it's stupid, left alone by the people who think it's no big deal? And should it be written off the freedom of speech, right? I mean, this is America.
I wouldn't go as far as saying it's freedom of speech. It is clear and decisive what he was trying to do with that. And for a person in his position,
it is clear and decisive that he doesn't like Trump, right?
Yeah. Someone in his position who could actually push something like that into happening, that is not okay.
He's been out of it for like 6 or 7 years now, right? Yeah. When was the last time he was FBI director? 9 years ago? Is it that long ago now? He's booted in like 2016. No, he gets booted in 2016.
He still has a good amount of influence, though. I'm not sure if they actually ever got his security clearance completely revoked either.
It's gone now. I will say this. Well, if it's restricted to what I saw like someone, probably him, had placed shells in the sand that said 8647, which just says to, he would prefer that Trump weren't president to me. And I mean, that's whether you agree with it or disagree with it. Didn't we all kind of agree that freedom of speech, go with it? I mean, he's not calling for violent revolution.
There is if he was a member of Congress, it'd be censurable. So I don't know what it'd be for someone in his position. He's not quite a complete civilian. Is it even
censurable for Congress?
Yes, it is.
I wonder if that's censurable. I don't know if that would be considered a pretty much of a censure, though. It's like you shouldn't have taken a picture of these. You're always going to be. I don't know. I mean, you don't have to agree with it. It wasn't like he drew a picture of a gun sight with the shells and then put the 47 inside, right? That right, totally different thing.
Either of those for a person in his position, that's not completely okay.
If he had put a sniper scope around the 47, it's super clear. Stay 86 47, I don't know. That I think is vague enough. The thing, I guess, and I don't know that I disagree with you. I'm just considering it. It seems as though what you're saying is like when you go into public service, you do like kind of acknowledge that some of your freedom of speech is kind of gone.
Yeah, he has to curtail certain things because of his position. He may not hold office at the moment, but he is not a complete civilian, and he is not legally entitled to do and say whatever he wants for the rest of his life, like say you or I would be. He has
Right, but I think
he is held legally to a higher standard because he has access and power that we don't, and can make certain things happen.
Probably true. I don't know that he has free. Like the thing is, the stuff that he doesn't have freedom to discuss is like, oh, this is how we infiltrate like the Russians. Oh, this is how we ran. Our gopher hunt. Is that what it's called? Mole hunt. Ask Carla. New Zealand politics are ridiculous. Deputy police commissioner just resigned because he had objectionable pronoun on his work computer. Oh, objectionable prawn on his work computer. I don't know. I mean, objectionable, there's objectionable, and then there's objectionable. I will say this. I don't know. Jerome, what do you think of this? The stiffest ever penalty for members of parliament was handed out to the people who did the Maori war dance in the parliamentary floor in New Zealand last year. Remember that famous video? The woman screams and starts to sort of sing chant, tears in half a big proposition, tosses it on the floor, and then her and two guys start dancing, and it's like this weird dance, and the whole thing is a little bit like hypnotic.
Yeah, I remember something about that.
All right, so they were censured by their own parliament. It said that now their response was that this was islamophobism against their culture because it was a beloved dance, and what the members of parliament said is, yeah, but it was out of context, out of place, done to intimidate, and you started approaching us and waving your hands in our faces and stuff. Like, so I guess what the point of view of the people who censured them, which was the majority of everybody, was that they had basically it's like you and I saying like, but all we were doing was breakdancing. It was like, yeah, with like, with like a chainsaw that you're turning on and off, like I'm like holding Germ by his feet and swinging him in a circle while he's like turning a chainsaw on and off, kind of breakdown. But we're just dancing.
If that's the worst censuring they've had in New Zealand, that's pretty damn white.
7 days, they're not allowed to be in session. They're not allowed to vote. I guess they might not miss any votes, but they're not allowed to be at the session for 7 days. I don't know how their system exactly works. But it was called, it's like you're not allowed to intimidate the other people. That measure ultimately failed. There's a founding document from 1840 that establishes New Zealand, and apparently the whole thing is flawed on both sides. It's in two different languages. It doesn't translate precisely, and it's like basically is an example of why the Dutch gave up their own language and only do contracts in English. It's a disaster, and apparently like the British Crown, which no longer rules New Zealand, is responsible for sort of breaking both versions of the treaty anyway. But that's kind of hard to put on people who come around 180 years later. 185 years later, we're going to relitigate this treaty.
They were better off submitting to Britain.
Did you know that the people that did that dance and stuff like that, the whole New Zealand Parliament thing, are the inspiration for a piece of the action from Star Trek? The original cargo cults. Well, the thing when World War II starts, right? Places like parts of the outlying islands that are part of New Zealand, they're not really contacted even. You know what I mean? They've seen like boats on the horizon, but no one's bothered to come to their island, right? But suddenly, it's a really good idea to go to that island and build an airstrip so that you can continue to attack Japanese shipping, right? So the 20th century just comes rolling out of the sea in the sky. They build an airstrip and a small military town, and you've just come out of like the earliest moments of the Iron Age at best, late Stone Age kind of tech, Easter Island people. And the cultural contamination is extreme and it's immediate. So like somebody basically walks up to a guy who's got as much context for like modern world as a caveman, gives him a pack of smokes, a lighter, a flashlight, and a can of Coke. Think about it.
Yeah, the real oversight on the British part to leave some of those tribes uncontacted.
It might have been better, right? Like just leave them alone. Like we don't.
Oh no, drag them into
Imagine-
modernity and compliance.
Well, that was what went wrong in 1923, right? That didn't work out very well for them. So there were examples of it failing around the world while they're trying it. But let's see. That's the thing. This country, public servants from the president down need to behave better than normal people. But in the past 10 to 15 years or so, we've allowed them to get away with a lesser standard. I think Jeremy and I both endorsed that comment.
Yeah.
The dance is called the haka. The haka. It's a traditional Maori dance. Because of New Zealand's constitution and the treaty with the Maori, there's a lot of issues, the media says. In real life, people mostly get along. That's the thing that I think is getting lost here too. Yeah, in real life, people mostly get along. And like what's going on here is like once you put out there a legal bid staked in there that you can go make a lot of money for just saying that you were done wrong, people are going to make a bid for it every time. We saw it in this country the other day. What's her name? Ariana Presley, the member of the House of Representatives. Is she from Louisiana?
I'm not sure about that one.
She is the black lady who has the alopecia. It's not alopecia. It's the reverse alopecia. I forget what it's called. She has the disease where she has no hair. So the poor woman doesn't have a choice on this one. She's bald. She decided not to go with the crazy looking wig. So whatever. We'll give her that. She's just, whatever. That's something she's stuck with. But yes, for the most part, she's been a pretty bombastic politician. And yesterday she called for reparations without really defining anything, but said, it's time.
Yeah,
and it's good to see.
Well, that's how they always do it.
It's a crazy thing. It's like you're really just alienating so many people, and you have to wonder where you're from that a bid like that could work. But you know what? I think New York City is going to have a similar problem very soon. There's a guy, you may have heard of him. Heard a guy named Eric Adams. 2 first names. This guy has 2 first names.
Yeah, I hear he's in a bit of trouble.
Let's forget about that for a moment. When he first became mayor, he made an announcement that starting this year, people who graduate high school in New York City would be able to read.
Heh.
Do you know how stupid that is, though? Think about that for a second. You have now given plausible grounds for litigation and damages to every single human being who graduated before this year. I can't read. It took me 5 years to teach myself after I graduated with honors from Bronx Science Academy. Think about how crazy, like you can't make a statement like that. You know what I mean? One of the things about having politicians who know a little bit about like statecraft is, to say we're going to improve our schools and have more substantial graduation rates and stuff like that. You don't say like everybody from before this couldn't read. Am I right? I don't know.
Yeah,
Jared,
that's going to isolate the electorate a little bit.
Sir, that was so controversial. Sir.
The thing is not just controversial, it's very actionable and could bankrupt the city. You're going to have to overcome the fact that the elected mayor had said that. Like, how do you overcome it? It was tiered ballots, ladies and gentlemen. It's not for real. And man, they really have to get rid of tiered ballots. If they're coming to your area, I would say make a strong stand against them. Eric Adams was not the first or second place finisher in the mayoral race. He was the majority 3rd and 4th place for winner. He had 3rd and 4th place locked up. He was not present in the standings for 1st or 2nd place. It was a confusing race where 2 different parties dropped out with less than a month to go. I think Andrew Yang dropped out 2 weeks. The ballots were printed when he dropped out. That's how crazy it was.
Yeah, that whole tiered balloting thing seems very unconstitutional to me, but
I don't know what kind of Ponzi scheme math they use to sell it, but it's very, very weird and very fishy. And I don't know how Eric Adams became mayor. Nobody liked him. Everybody said that he was kind of a real weirdo. And what's going on right now is With Andrew Cuomo running as a Democrat, he is damaged goods. Nobody likes him. And Eric Adams running as a Republican, he's damaged goods too. Also, nobody likes him. The commie is starting to gain some momentum.
Well, you guys are screwed.
First and second place could cancel themselves out again, and we could get a commie. Or like an ACAB candidate. These things are all possible. One of the things, the mistake that people make about New York City is thinking that everyone here is extremely, extremely radical. We do have people here present who are radical. That's because there's a lot of people. But a lot of these massive protests, and Gerb and I have been through this, and I've proved it a few times. A lot of these protests, like say Columbia, when they break it up, ain't nobody from Columbia or New York in the group of people, or in college in that group of people that they broke up.
Yeah, I've noticed that here too.
Yeah,
all the stuff at the UW, they miraculously, a lot of those people were from San Francisco, and some of them were actually from BC as well.
There is such a thing as a professional agitator. You show me a cause, I'll show you the modern equivalent of a Grateful Dead or a Fish concert. You get what I'm going with this one?
Oh, yeah. And it helps that they go to day labor places and certain construction stores around here and pick people up.
In our world, there is such a thing as a professional agitator. We got there somehow. No one wanted it, but there you have it. There is like agitation season. And with any cause or idea, here's what happens. It's like a play. We've written a new play. It's going to be tried out upstate or in Connecticut. Then we'll go on tour around the country to see if there's an appetite for it. Then, after the name's on everybody's lips, we'll try to get it on Broadway when it's kind of proven itself. And then along the way, if there's a couple of things about the play people don't like, we'll tweak it, right? That's the same thing with the cause or a Grateful Dead show. The Grateful Dead show or the Fish tour. It starts in like, I don't know, let's pretend Frisco. And then it gets to like, I don't know, winds its way down the California coast, makes its way through the Midwest and Texas, gets to like Florida. And then like the big deal is they're going to play like 5 straight nights in New York, right? That's always the biggest deal. And by the time they get here, there's people who are only going to the area of the Grateful Dead or the Fish show because why? They dig drugs, they dig girls, they dig partying, or they're serial killers, and everything they need is there. Am I right?
Yeah, that's a good description of a Grateful Dead show.
It's a great place to get drugs. But yes, the Grateful Dead show was basically, by the time it got to New York, it was like a bunch of trust fund kids and the people who were going to take advantage of or kill them. Really, it was a scary crowd of weirdos, man. But yeah, did I buy LSD from them? I don't know. People tell me I was on LSD after I met them, so I can't testify to what I did. I mean, if that's the truth, then I wouldn't remember, right?
Well, yeah, you never remember if you bought LSD or not.
No, how would I remember? Apparently, the LSD erased it from my mind. I don't remember doing LSD. But, like, you know, by the time the Grateful Dead would get to New York, it would be like, it would just build in momentum and, like, you know, everybody would, like, you know, you've got a lot of people with disposable income and stuff, like, and a cause is the same way. A cause, it's like all of a sudden in the Midwest, something terrible happens. Then like in some second tier cities like Chicago and Philadelphia, there'll be some kind of protest and then it'll galvanize and someone will be like, I figured out how to monetize it. I figured out how to make money off of it. Then people who are like bleeding hearts or donors of any cause will come and start to, you know, just throw money at it. There were people, they said, just walking up and giving money to the people who did, what was the one that's the most lampooned, the Wall Street one?
The,
what was it even called? It was
Occupy Wall Street.
Yeah, the Occupy Wall Street. Like, by the time that gets here, like, it hit a few other cities. Occupy Wall Street was like, there's an annual bunch of things. This is a year-round thing to go around agitating and being pissed off about, like, the global economic agenda and, like, the G7 and all that stuff. There are people who just spend their entire life making money off the fact that there's something weird about the World Bank. And there's World Bank protests in your city. How often, Jerm?
Oh, it's more regular than we get Comic-Con.
And this is like a situation in a lot of the major cities. So Germ on his coast, me on mine. By the time the cause has worked out enough to be like, it's gained what we would call terminal velocity. It's this is the cause of the week. BLM had its moment, and the other ideas have their moment. And what happens is they finally make it to their coastal destination city, be it LA, Seattle. Seattle is kind of supplanting LA because you guys have a reputation for like when somebody shows up with a weird, stupid, crazy, violent idea, everyone's like, "Sir, here are the keys to our city, sir." Like, what's with what's with your state?
Well, the last crazy lady to have ideas like that, we put her in Congress. There's just something wrong with us up here, I guess.
You allow really crazy public gatherings that are seemingly violent to go on for prolonged periods of time and do things like establish that basically the way it was reported to the rest of us was part of Seattle became just a protest zone. It was like a red light district to go act like a total asshole.
Yeah, that's how the media tried to spin it.
So what was the deal? You walk down there and you say, "Who run Bartertown?" And like you bite the head off a freaking bat and you're allowed to hang out?
You had a bunch of crazy, usually younger people trying to grow crops on a tarp with topsoil they stole from Lowe's.
To what end? That sounds dumb, right off on its face. At least in New York, the protests have like a catchy chant, and they like before they start peeing in the street and being a real problem, they're funny for a few moments, but then don't mess with the NYPD. The worst thing you want to do is get caught for being an out-of-hand protester here a second time. It's fucking felony. Anyway, Germ, yesterday around here was a tale of two terrible trailers. Have you heard of Riri Williams?
Oh, unfortunately, I do remember the name.
She's also known as Ironheart. She's an insufferable individual, and she's a stranger to what I would call silent contemplation. Yesterday, we got 157 seconds, or 2 days ago now, we got 157 seconds of video for the trailer for the Ironheart show. Are you ready for this fine piece of cinema, Germ?
I guess I'll have to wipe it away with alcohol later.
Yeah, yeah, and you also want to wipe it with alcohol before making contact. But for about 1 minute of this 157 seconds, she's in an elevator complaining. The first thing she does is break into a building. Then she's in an elevator complaining. Then she gets told she's amazing. Then she gets told she's amazing again. Then the world's worst music gets louder, and we see her dancing in slow motion as $100 bills drop from the ceiling, and she's just like, "This is our black check."
Wait, is she in a club?
No,
I didn't think Ironheart. I thought that Ironheart was
an
entirely different.
Yeah. No, I think she's fantasizing in her mind or something like that. I don't know. Like, I didn't have enough context, but I'm pretty sure at some point she even says, "I don't even have time for all of this." Like, everything but talk to the hand as far as dated ebonics goes. And it really nails it into the fact that this is from 2020. And this has been around for a pretty long time. Rachel Ziegler's description of 1937 Snow White actually fits Ironheart. It's really dated. It's highly problematic. And it really looked awful. So, I mean, moving on from that one. Superman is like super loser now. Did you see the Superman trailer?
Yeah, it's
Wow.
the guy comes off as kind of
loser.
off. Yeah, it's a nice way to put it. I can't use YouTube won't let me use the word I want to.
Tismatic, shall we say?
Sure, yeah.
There's something
He's,
there's something wrong with
more
Superman.
interested in Batman than Wonder Woman type.
Oh, yeah, this is the most British cigarette of a Superman we've ever seen, making Robert Pattinson look tough and manly. Yeah, he's a really bad choice for the role, but the thing is, what we saw David Spade's niece is Lois Lane. Isn't that great?
Oh, gee. Can only hope she has talent.
Here's the thing. In her
definitely
other
doesn't
roles,
run into family.
well, I mean, her aunt is Kate Spade. and her father was an architect. So her uncle's an architect, but she's niece to Kate Spade and David Spade. Brosnahan was Kate Spade's original last name. Kate Spade married David Spade's brother. She wasn't David Spade's sister. So Rachel Brosnahan and what's Superman's name? This douchebag. They should have gotten Zachary Levi. This guy's terrible, but terrible cast. He might be good as something else. But they're playfully going to have a Superman interview, and not only does Superman lose it and get angry and start yelling and act like a child, people's defense was, and I did appreciate this, the stuff he says is in character for Superman. It's the little childish breakdown that isn't.
Yeah, that's the part I had the biggest problem with.
Not what he said, but the childish breakdown. Guys, let me paint the scene for you. Lois and Superman Clark are in her, I guess, apartment. She seems very much at home and very much in charge. They are fully clothed. They do not feel like a couple at all in this. Do they feel like a couple to you?
It doesn't come off like that. He comes off like the gay best friend.
He does come off like the gay best friend. And really that perfect. So they're having this discussion where she goes, okay, Superman, you want to be interviewed as Superman? And I'm like, not even playful sexy. Like, what's their thing? So then he's like, okay. And she's like, you recently did something very controversial. And he's like, so? And she's like,
Sir, that was so controversial. Sir.
And he starts to flip out when she points. He says, I stopped the war. And she goes, possibly. He goes, no, not possibly, definitely. And then for about 10, 15 seconds, they both talk at the same time. I found this fucking infuriating. How about you?
Yeah, it's way too jumbled. It makes Superman look
Neurotic?
Yeah, neurotic. He's supposed to be above humanity. Unless they're going for an injustice spin on this, I don't see why they'd make him look like such a... I'm not going to say that word because...
Loser? Does it rhyme with chimp?
Yeah.
Yeah, make him look like a chimp. What can you say? You know what? I would ask you this. You know the lore more than me. I did my best yesterday. Krypto seems to be prominent in this, and he was the hero of the trailer. They said, what? How did someone get a Kryptonian dog here? And what I said was, if I'm wrong about this one, I'm wrong. But I think the deal with Krypto is a lot of the stuff from Krypton falls in the area of and around Smallville, and he's a regular dog who gets contaminated with kryptonite and gets superpowers.
There's a couple of different origins for him.
Do I have one?
I think that's one of them.
So I guess the 1955 origin doesn't count. It's whatever the last one they gave him. I don't know. The origin in the movie, is he going to be there unexplained? Who knows? I will say this, Krypto being so prominent in the trailer was disturbing, and he saved Superman's ass, and he's the hero of the trailer. I was like, let's write out Superman, just get back Melissa Benoist as Supergirl, and have Krypto.
Yeah, Supergirl and Krypto. That'd be a much better movie.
Honestly, it would be a better movie. So then, after Superman has his little girlish meltdown, we see the wrong Green Lantern, and you'll never guess why they went with the wrong Green Lantern.
I'm guessing Hal Jordan was a little bit too much on the royalties.
No, it's even stupider.
Oh no!
They
have
asked Ryan
four
Reynolds,
Green Lanterns to choose from. Why wouldn't they choose a better one?
They asked Ryan Reynolds to reprise the one he played. He said no, and they didn't want to use it. So they went with this one. What is it, Guy Greer? Is that his name? Gary Greer?
Guy Gardner.
Guy Gardner. Sorry. Sounds like a lawyer. My Guy Gardner will be in touch. Yes, Krimon is here. Krimon! It's good to see Krimon. It's good to see you. And it's good to see Lombardi 1969. Greetings, West Cagle. Where's West Cagle? There's West Cagle. West Cagle. Savior of the universe. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Maybe we'll throw West Cagle a fourth and long here. So what's your favorite Krypto origin?
It's just he was in the pod with them. That's the one I always saw.
So they're Kryptonian dogs.
Yeah, they just put the Crypto in the pod with him, and he rode along, and always been Clark Kent's dog.
Was it a puppy when they put it in?
Yeah.
Oh, Crimlon, I'm just seeing your thing in the chat. That was no big deal. Who cares? Although we do have to pretend that I'm like an Easter Island deity on there, but that's no big deal. What do you call it? It's good to see Crimlon. It's great to see you here, and let's see if we can't do a fourth along to West Cagle. I didn't throw one into the livestock managers group today because I had Germ coming on, and I do love working with you. It's always a blast. We managed to decode the Star Trek thing with Kurtzman, and we gave, I think, a pretty good take on it. What we said still sort of holds up. You know, let's revisit that for a moment. Our biggest thing that we've done, and Wes Cagle, if you want, you have the beam up coordinates at your disposal. We kind of augured that pretty well, and I think that we didn't overstate our point of view on it too much either. We said if someone could fire him, he probably would be fired. And what's happened? It's endured that he couldn't be fired because of the reasons we've said, that there's just no one there to push the button.
Yeah, serious lack of firm leadership.
By the way, Mark
They seem
Harkness,
to
we
bite
all
the
miss
bullet
these days.
and Take the L, pay out the money, and just kick him to the curb.
By the way, one thing they did say about that Superman trailer was that when Superman gets hit in the head with like somebody throwing a cup of coffee and it bounces off the back of their head, that one, it was from Snyder. It's a shot for shot from Snyder, and they bought the receipts on that one. But the other one was that he had originally winced, and they got rid of that.
Yeah, that won't look too Superman-like.
All right. I don't know how much of this I can do without being in violation of YouTube policies, but maybe I can give it a shot. I have the tweet here that has the mashup of things that are the same shot for shot. And I'm going to leave it pretty small, but I'm going to work it in here so that you guys can have a look at this. All right. So here you have the X feed of one Admiral Teague. Verbal Riot posted almost shot for shot, not a good look. And here's the similarities between the Superman that we just got and the Snyderman Superman. Snyderman work for you? Snyderman works, right? All right, let's go. Here's the first similarity. And by the way, that's Colonel Flagg on the left. Who's the guy in a gimp suit, Germ, pushing Superman on the bottom?
That is... not sure who that's supposed to be.
Whoever it is, it's either new or a bad visualization. So that's, I don't know if these are the bad guy Superman, who this chick is. She grows like freaking spinning blades out of her hand. The whole thing had a feel of being unfinished. So here's one. It was a whole bunch of stuff that was like Snyder-ish or Snyder-related. Let me just... If I get rid of the sound, I can probably show you a little more. Let me try one more time the way I wanted to. All right, let's do this. So here's the first similarity. You can, I would agree. Germ, thoughts?
Yeah,
I immediately
but
thought of Snyder's movie when I saw this, by the way.
It's a pretty benign shot. I don't know why they have such bad dressed secondary characters.
Hell no, yeah.
It's supposed to be somebody. The guy in the rubber suit and the girl is supposed to be somebody, but we don't know who they are. Yeah, they're
not
so
well
far
rendered.
off. They're so far off what the comic representation would be that I would know of that I can't recognize.
Or they're
them.
wacky original villains. Crimlon kind of had a thought on who the guy who smashes Superman's face into concrete, but I point out in that trailer we only see Superman lose and get beat and give up and lose and get beat and give up and have a neurotic breakdown where he yells at Lois. So this also, like you said, it's kind of par for the course for Superman to do stuff like this, but I don't know. The question would be, is this so iconic to Superman that neither of them is responsible for it? So both of them are basically just doing Superman stuff, or is this derivative?
It's just basic stuff. The Snyder one looks better shot.
It does look, it has a lot more money in it. This is the one, to me, the first one and this one were like a little too close. This is a little too close. They're weird floating kaiju here.
Yeah, that's a little bit. Well, they get the heat vision power right both times.
Look at this.
I'd say that one would be acceptable for the heat vision.
Superman saving people, that's fairly normal. This looks like Yankee Stadium, but it ain't. It ain't Yankee Stadium. It's probably the Kansas Stadium. Wait. They filmed this in Cleveland, I heard. It's just probably the Cleveland Stadium.
That does look like the Guardian Stadium.
Okay, so we're supposed to appreciate this shot in the bottom better now, but it's been cleaned up and changed from Snyder. But from the first version, now when Superman gets hit with the cup of coffee or whatever the hell it is, he doesn't wince. But look at this. This one is pretty close too. That to me does not seem to be a mistake. This one though, this is basic Superman stuff.
Yeah, that's been in every Superman movie.
So is A Snowy Wasteland. I don't know. This was an unfortunate choice that both of them made. Beat up, beat down, loser Superman. And I, for one, this is not my Superman. It's not a Superman I'm not interested in. He's not too cool.
Yeah, they completely misunderstand the idea of Superman. He's supposed to be an ideal for everyone to look up to and for essentially a god to function in man's world and not completely destroy everything and not drive himself insane. He's not supposed to have the same little BS problems that everyone else has had, and he's definitely not supposed to be cucked out to a freaking reporter.
It would have been a lot cooler if the entire commercial was Superman shaving with his laser vision and nothing else. That would
have at least been novel.
Yeah, and Superman-ish.
Yeah.
You want to show us a smaller, more personal Superman, show us him taking care of himself and not being a fucking idiot. The fact that he stopped some kind of war and had like the resoluteness and the strength to go there, you know, that's one thing. But the idea that like he can't justify it and he's yelling at Lois Lane because she's not on his side, he was sounding a bit like a villain there. Like he was like Nightmare Superman, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's closer to an Injustice type Superman than anything else. Because Superman wouldn't justify what he did. He would just stop the war and said, I'm here to protect people. If you have a problem with that,
I'm still Superman.
Do something about it. Yeah.
I'm Superman. What are you going to do about it? Hit me with a nuclear weapon, I'll fly towards the sun for a while. Yeah, and I would say my final thing on this one is please stop releasing trailers. I am less interested in every trailer. The one before this was the first 5 minutes of the movie that were insipid and stupid as fuck. Remember how dumb that 5 minutes was?
Oh, yeah, that was... that's going to kill him.
By the way, that also featured overlapping dialogue and neurotic robots.
Yeah, I'm not against the idea of those robots, but the way they portray
the overlapping dialogue and the neurotic breakdowns. This is starting to look very much like this happens too much in modern storytelling. And Jerem, you know much about this as I do. This seems to be the new modern storytelling method. And this is how they did it in Thunderbolts, but it's in Star Trek, it's in Star Wars, it's in everything. This is what happens. Movie like Thunderbolts was really basic because it had the narration, but like it starts out with, I am the hero of this story. I loathe myself. I am uninteresting. I have disdain for myself and anyone who cares about me. Then for about the first half hour of the movie, we get a villain origin tale misrepresented with heroic music and presented to us as a hero's origin tale. What we saw with Yelena in the first 10 minutes of that Black Widow movie, that was villain stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
And all,
you can't have heroes anymore. They have to, whoever is heroic, they have to be torn down throughout the movie and proven to be either just human or less than human.
and all
You can't
conversations
have
go.
anything to aspire to anymore.
Yeah, and all conversations go like this. Now, Yelena's your leader, right? So she will walk up on someone, and in this weird rewritten Yoda-like way that they have her talking, Florence Pugh will be like, "You are Bucky Barnes. Kiss my ass. You are bullshit. You have arm that is not arm, but is still arm that you wash in washing machine and are Winter Soldier from Wakanda." And he'll get nervous and be like, "But I'm Bucky Barnes, who's the Winter Soldier, and I have an arm that's not an arm." And she'll be like, "You're bullshit." And he's like, "Maybe I'm bullshit." And the movie proceeds like this. And people walk in, and like USA agent walks in, and she's like, "You are a USA agent. You are a low-life scumbag whose family hates him." And it's like, "Okay, harsh, but here's the deal." And like every scene is blocked with this like snarky stupidity. I don't how any group this individualistically dysfunctional, I mean, they try to make that the joke in the movie, but the thing is they were almost there with their Avengers anyway. And these new Avengers, the way they become the new Avengers is such bullshit. It's just, oh, whoa. What do you think is going to be worse for the MCU? Is it going to be Ironheart or is it going to be Fantastic Four? Which we got good rumors on that one, man.
Oh, yeah. The Fantastic Four, I'd say just because how much money they're spending on that, that's going to be probably the biggest L of their year. And that's saying
It looks like
this
it.
year.
Well, it's unconfirmed, and we're not there, so we don't know this, but rumors are massive reshoots to change or fix the ending. And by the way, this is what I know about the ending from seeing Thunderbolts. All indications are they lose. Yeah, somebody I think said this on WDW Pro. Fantastic Four. It looks boring. It looks stupid. It looks like they lose. It looks like they fail their universe. It looks like at the end of Thunderbolts, you see a cutscene that is filmed on the set of Avengers Doomsday, and they're hanging out at Stark Tower, which is now like Avengers Tower. It's don't ask me how, but we see the Fantastic Four's retro futuristic rocket fleeing towards our planet. Is the way it looks. And I was like, either they lose or they're just passing through, but it sure looked like they lost to me. And I guess my impression would be, could they change it so they're just passing through? This is like almost blasphemous in the world of comic books. The Fantastic Four is basically Marvel's first family. It's Spider-Man and
Pretty much,
Fantastic
yeah.
Four start this shit, right?
Fantastic Four is, as far as superhero teams go, they're the first family.
But the first,
Captain America
first
and
family.
whatnot came first, but Fantastic Four, they're the franchise.
Captain America is substantially different from the way he was rewritten by Stan Lee and whoever else. The deal is Captain America is whoever he is and has his own kind of story going up until the first Marvel Comics goes out of business. Or is it Amazing Comics? I don't even know. Goes out of business, and they inherit some of these folded titles, and they're like, "Hey, while we're working on these new ideas, let's go through the vault and see what we outright own." And they're like, "Hey, we own Captain America. What can we do with it?" And Stan Lee's like, "What if he was frozen in ice all this time?" And they reorigin him, and I think they changed his beginning a little bit too. I don't know if he's always a super soldier. He might have just been super because he was great. I just don't know. I just thought his powers might have been patriotism in the first iteration. I don't know shit about pre-Marvel Captain America. Do you?
Not
Copper Age
a
comic.
lot. The only thing I really know is that he had a habit of punching old Uncle Adolf.
Yeah, they joke about that successfully in that movie, but that's a Paramount
it's the most
movie, not a
famous
Disney movie.
cover of the original.
Right.
comic.
This is Superman picking up the car for them. Fantastic Four establishes it, and then Spider-Man took over. Yeah, Spider-Man is really big. Somewhere I read that it's in a lot of years, half of all superhero merchandise is Spider-Man. I'm guessing number 2 is Batman.
Yeah, it's close to that. They're
But
pretty
it's-
much in parity with each other. Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, and I believe there's one more up there that basically
Another
dwarf
Marvel
all the
guy?
rest. Yeah, it might be another Marvel guy.
Might it be? It's not Venom.
No.
Venom never worked out. It didn't fail totally. Just they have changed their mind about how Venom happened about 3 times. Is the modern version of how we get Venom the version from the Spider-Man animated series of the 90s, hijacks a space shuttle?
Pretty much, yeah. And the series he comes by on a space shuttle that was encountering a asteroid, I believe.
There's a Justice League before there was a Fantastic Four. Gotta go work now, but Cavill Superman had a ×10 presence of guns, yes. And he gave as good as he got in the Man of Steel fights. Live long and prosper. You too. I really feel bad for Henry Cavill. He seems to just be the most unlucky person. Him and Sydney Sweeney have this shared fate. They're really not allowed to be themselves. They're too good looking. They make people uncomfortable in this day and age. We nerf Sydney Sweeney in most movies, and we make Henry Cavill play an idiot in most movies, or an inadmirable person in most movies. And he gets stuck into a lot of things that get co-opted and go in a terrible direction, like The Witcher. Season 1, he had enough control to keep it sort of from going off the rails. Season 2, like, problems visible, and then by the end of it, he's like, I'm done with this. And then season 3 was just like a garbage fire, right?
Season 3, I never really saw, but they replaced him with a Hemsworth.
I like this. Mark Harkness puts, Batman is the second most popular. Number 2 is Ironheart is number 2. Exactly. Yeah, that story is number 2. Riri Williams finds some garbage and builds herself an Iron Man suit. People just throw away arc reactors and everything like that all day. You know that, right, Tony? I mean, right, Jerm?
Oh, yeah, they're just littered all over the place.
I know that when I was walking to get my taco this morning, I found a perfectly good Iron Man helmet that I kept just to be a hologram player. But, I digress. So I'm not too sure with the Superman trailer. He's not comfortable being asked questions, and he's surprised in spite of the fact that in this world, is Clark Kent also a journalist? Because he seems pretty confused by the way an interview works. Was he a White House correspondent for the Biden administration? Is that why he doesn't get, this is how it works?
He must have been. Especially, that's his wife. Or his
Wait, they're married?
At the it depends on what point in the timeline. It's either they're in the serious relationship at that point because she already knows
I don't think they're there
his
in this
identity.
version. She knows his identity, but they're just pals or something.
That would be a serious change because she's not supposed to know until essentially he knows that's the one for him. Well, he doesn't tell her until he basically proposes.
He's sure of her. All right, so get this. They took the same approach as Matt Reeves with Batman. He's been at this about a year. Superman year 1.
Yeah, year 1 was never a good idea.
Year 1ing anyone is actually a bad idea. It didn't work for Batman. It didn't work for live action Batman at all. It's not so bad for animated Batman. But I mean, do people understand that there's a different standard for animation? You tell me what you think of this statement. Crypto's fine, but he doesn't belong in any kind of live action movie now or ever.
Generally a good idea. He works great in animation. Live action, this would be the first time I remember him being in live action.
He kind of doesn't always look that great either. He's not the best CGI. He sort of sucks. And what do you agree or disagree? Crypto's a really cheap thing to put into this movie to make people kind of like, "Aw, the doggy." I don't care. If
it's a distraction to why do we have such a bad Superman?
And this movie's crowded with characters. We've got everyone. We've got Colonel Flag. We've got everyone's Polka Dot Man going to show up. I mean, God.
Yeah, I think he's trying to establish the universe a little bit too quickly.
So here's the question for you is, of these 2 trailers I watched, Ironheart and Superman, both seem to be girl power all the way, by the way. Which one do you think looked worse? I'm gonna say Superman simply because no one's gonna be caring if you destroy the. There's no beloved Ironheart lore.
Yeah,
She's around for 9 years as opposed to 90 years.
yeah. I'm offended by the Superman trailer. Couldn't give a crap about Ironheart.
You know what? It reminded me of the worst parts of the movie. And we watch this movie on this channel from time to time as a joke, but and we have some fun with it. But there's a movie that like it only works because of the star power. It's kind of dumb, and you know what movie it is.
I don't care.
It's this
Find
movie.
this man.
There's-
When I came home, there was a man in my house.
And in that movie, one of the most infuriating things in The Fugitive, which is only an okay movie, is we have a difference of opinion between our like federal marshals that goes on throughout the entire movie. Does anyone ever yield the floor to let anyone finish speaking?
Not that I remember.
In that movie, they overtalk their boss, they overtalk each other, and they overtalk the local cops and treat each other like shit. No one has an ounce of respect for each other. No one knows how to hold the conversation. They just like keep on plowing over each other, talking over each other, overlapping dialogue. And I guess the idea is while people are over talking each other, we're kind of a little bit used to that in real life. But we don't go to the movies to be annoyed by real life. And I guess although our brains can process it, like that, the sequel fails for a reason, not just because Harrison Ford doesn't want to do it. It's that the original only works because Harrison Ford's in it, because that movie is just all right. Same movie, but it's Bill Pullman. What happens now, Jerm?
Don't think
Bill
people
Pullman, not a
saw
bad
it.
actor. Same movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. If the only Harrison Ford could have made that movie work.
Yeah,
Richard,
probably.
it's me, your friend. Richard, it's your friend, Richard. I love the bad guy in that movie, but that's about it. Aside from that guy being a pretty good bad guy, is there anything to be said for that movie? Good parody and good parody from Jay and Silent Bob. Doesn't go much further than that.
Yeah, that's all I can think of.
And Colonel Flagg died in the last Suicide Squad movie, so how he's in this movie, you tell me.
Oh, it's Colonel Flagg Sr. The Colonel Flagg in this is Colonel Flagg from the cartoon that James Gunn made a few months ago.
Okay. Oh, great. Lucky for us, James Gunn's out there creating cartoons. This, I have a bad feeling that this is going to be a pretty destructive moment for Superman.
Yeah, I think James Gunn's DC universe is gonna
Stillborn?
basically crash and burn. Yeah, complete stillbirth. He ain't getting anything after this.
I'm not interested. I would say that out of the three projects in our conversation today, Fantastic Four, Ironheart, and Superman, the one I am most likely to see is probably Fantastic Four because of the way our channel works and that we were a little more oriented towards the MCU. The one that I think is going to be the biggest flat explosion in the theater, suck the air out of the room, is Superman. And people will still stand for this movie. That's going to be what the tough part is. If this movie's as bad as we think, the people who go like, "You're wrong," that's going to be rough to take.
Yeah, unfortunately, James Gunn does have some of the Snyder Bro effect on his fan base.
Yeah,
They're
he's got
not
that
much
Snyderish
better.
energy.
Yeah.
Well, every time a Snyder movie has come around, there's been less Snyder Bros. That's all I can say. He's self-destroying his own like image. His image. I said his image is at like a peak now because he hasn't done anything in about a year. It's been about a year since he's been able to make a fool of himself. And yeah, James Gunn is shooting blanks for sure. I think he's also like, doesn't he have like an activist wife as well and stuff like that he likes to throw into movies?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't know. I never really was a big fan of James Gunn. I don't think he made Guardians of the Galaxy work. That was the cast, and
I think it was the cast
more
too, yeah.
Chris is heavily on Chris Pratt.
One of the weirdest moments in Guardians of the Galaxy history, though, is their fucking 4 minutes in Love and Thunder. Where the good idea that was as Guardians of the Galaxy was actually could have been a good movie, but instead they make Love and Thunder. That was greed. We want 2 movies instead of 1. That was greed. They should have made Asgardians of the Galaxy instead of Love and Thunder and Guardians 3. What do you think?
Yeah, it would have been better to have Thor incorporated into Guardians 3 than the way they went, but they weren't interested in paying any of those guys any more money, so they had to have something to write them off.
Mark Harkness is kind of right here. James Gunn can like come in and play your guitar solo, but someone's got to be like laying down a pretty solid rhythm before you get quirky and eccentric like his characters are. And a quirky, eccentric Superman who needs like, to see the shrink is probably not what anyone wants. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
You tell me.
No one wants Superman when he's at his worst. The only time he should be vulnerable is when his friends and family are in danger, or when he's dealing with Batman, because Batman is just so far more intelligent than he is that he's the only one on the planet that can actually get to him.
And Superman's still not dumb, but yeah, Batman a lot smarter, and it's an interesting story to say the least. But hey, what are you going to do? You've got this iteration looking to be, at the very least, boring, and maybe even possibly rising to accidentally lampooning itself. I don't know what to tell you on this one, because they say in movies and in cinema and in pop culture, your idea gets to run loose and free and unrestrained until there's successful satire of it. Have you ever heard this concept? That your idea is like, it runs unbridled, and then when it gets out of control, it gets successfully satired, and there'll be a satire of your genre, and after that satire, like, you'll kind of self-correct a little bit. Mel Brooks has done it twice. With Westerns, they made Westerns. Like, the Western was the most popular form of entertainment from, like, the birth of the talking motion picture until, like, there's a donut hole in production of them right after Blazing Saddles. Mel Brooks, like, helicopters in there and just absolutely has a hilariously devastating piece of Western satire. And it changes the dynamic of Westerns. And we don't have any more for like 10 years. It takes 10 years to get Silverado. And again, with Spaceballs, the similar effect where Star Wars and Star Trek may be a little too ridiculous at some moments, and then you get Spaceballs sort of resets people's expectations, lets a little bit of the tension in the air out of the balloon. We're free to laugh at it. And because there's been satire, like Star Wars grinds to a halt and doesn't make a movie after Spaceballs. Star Trek, it's not destroyed by it, but Star Trek has to take a little time off, and when they come back again, like, they have to correct in light of Spaceballs, because I think the next Star Trek movie after Spaceballs is Journey Home. I might be out of sequence here, but it's either Journey Home or a 2-year break, because between 4 and 5, it's a little while. It's a little longer than the usual wait, I believe.
Yeah, I believe that's right. Journey Home came out in, what was that, 88?
Sounds about right. Yes. Maybe like 86. Because Khan is 82.
Yeah, it's 86. So it was actually, I believe, before Spaceballs. So 5 would have been the next one. And
that one is already got problems. It's affected by 2 strikes. And then, yeah, people have seen Spaceballs. Then they walk into your movie. And that really hurts the reception for 5, in my opinion. Because when you have a really good, successful satire of a genre, it sort of purifies the whole thing. You know what I mean? It's like taking an old rug out and like cleaning it out. It's like, for a little while there, it'll restore some of its luster.
Yeah,
with Spaceballs,
they don't have to take themselves so seriously after they get something like Spaceballs out.
So
that would help DC and the MCU, because they're always so just uptight about all their stuff.
That's what I was going to say. Here's what I was going to say about our modern predicament is this. And tell me if you agree with this or not. I've come to believe that DC and the MCU have become powerful enough to control their own satire. And things like Deadpool show them trying to control their own satire. So no lessons are learned from their self-satire, which is done by themselves without being truly satirical and therefore not being truly revelatory and truly changing as satire is supposed to be. It doesn't lay it bare.
Yeah, that fits because even with as far as they went in Wolverine and Deadpool, there were some lines that they obviously stopped him from crossing. And unless you can cross those lines, they're never going to get the stick out of their own asses.
By the way, I want to. Krimlon says here that like the 2006 Superman did have something. I think what it had was the characters were correct. That story was a lost, wandering mess, but like that Superman wanted to be a good guy to do and unambiguously do good things. He was an okay Superman. That Lois Lane was like pretty, objectively pretty, and was pretty cool. Their Lex Luthor was at least well played. You know, we don't like the guy, but Kevin Spacey, decent actor. But then the movie gets lost in being nonsense and kind of overly kooky. But that movie did have something. I think it was that Superman was Superman and Lois was Lois. What do you think, Jerm?
Yeah, it did have a little bit of something. It wasn't the story. Characters were okay.
They were right. The other example of this one is in the world of Star Trek rather. We've got a bunch of terrible movies in a row from J.J. Abrams, ending with Star Trek Into Darkness, and then the final one is Beyond, right? The J.J. Abrams movies, before he moves on to Star Wars, the characters are really just totally changed and nothing like what we know them as. They're just convenient characters, and it's one of the most conveniently written 2 movies in the world. In the third movie, Simon Pegg takes his charge seriously. He can't do it because he's too inhibited, but he manages to kind of make a little bit happen there. I don't know how else to put it. He manages to make a little bit happen and does what he has to do in a more or less surgical way, and he just sort of, I don't know. That one just, it does and doesn't work. I don't know how to put it.
I'd say he did a better job than JJ did on the first 2. But
the characters act correctly.
Yeah, there's just so much hammering he can do to get that square peg into a round hole that JJ left him.
Not to mention he's got the people who wrote the bad Star Trek and the Rings of Power running around overruling him on dialogue and jokes and situations. So sometimes the movie was just taken right away from him by those idiots. It was always going to be bad. Kevin Spacey was playing his Kevin Spacey caricature by that point. That's my main gripe with him. He's great in earlier roles, but he fell into being the same in everything. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
including real life.
Yeah.
Including real life.
Yeah. And, well, let's just say I will not be testifying against Kevin Spacey no matter what.
That check cleared.
Yeah, it's not the check I'm worried about. It's the never seeing me again part.
That's P. Diddy that you want to avoid testifying on. You know what? Before we go, let me check that one really quickly and see what happened at the P. Diddy trial as far as I want to know if they found that witness. How about you?
I don't think they're ever going to find that witness.
But a lawyer's missing too.
Yeah. Diddy's a rich guy. You think a lawyer's going to be much harder than making a witness go away?
She's still missing. No updates.
She's off in eternity with Amelia Earhart.
And
we'll
her
never
lawyer?
know the truth.
And her lawyer? Yeah, like
I
we
guess
don't know.
the lawyer
like,
was at the wrong
we're
time.
not lawyers. We don't know. Well, the lawyer would be the point of contact by which you broker with her. If he was like, let's say he did something expected, like he was like, for $100 million, you don't have to, you know, would it be okay? And they're like, we would think about not testifying for $100 million. That seems to be more or less what happened. But somewhere along the line, something went terribly wrong.
Yeah, and
or someone got paid so much that they really did just take off on their own. We don't know that anything was. It would be criminal to disappear, I guess.
It's criminal either way. It's say I hope,
as far as we can tell,
I hope they got paid off and just went off and are on some tropical island enjoying their 10-figure sum.
They got Hoffman. It's very possible. Like I'm with Jerm on this one. I hope that it's not as bad as it looks, but this doesn't look good. And I don't know, like, where's the concern? Why isn't there like a massive manhunt out for these people? Like, with all the money at stake and the level of weird things and the fact that, like, he was already accused of stuff that, like, it doesn't matter how rich you are. If you are guilty of racketeering, you have to do your time in a shithole prison that's really, really high security.
Well, you know who took over the prosecuting on that trial now, don't you?
Who?
The same prosecutor who was on Ghislaine Maxwell's trial. And the daughter of a certain official we were talking about earlier.
I don't know who it is, but I will say this. Not looking good in the P. Diddy trial for justice. It looks like they're going to prove that he was a terrible, despicable human being, and that'll get him banned from polite society. But he has, like, more money beyond the wildest dreams of avarice. And, like, the things he's accused of are so very serious. And for the record, if I remember correctly, Ghislaine Maxwell guilty, but not as guilty as she could have been. 20 years and what did Harvey get, 30? Or did she get 30 and he got 60? She got half what he got.
Yeah, she got almost nothing in a minimum security. It's the rest of her life, seeing as her age, but it is basically a country club prison.
Thank God, at least she's been put away and can't hurt anyone else, hopefully, but God. And Harvey Weinstein, that trial, apparently there was a bit of a rush to justice in that. And New York is starting to get a bit of a reputation for sending people up for a stretch or finding people guilty of these crimes. This is 2 now where they had to go do it again. In this one, apparently it was a process mistake. And they were able to get a mistrial on the first trial. The thing is, once you're found guilty once of something this serious, you don't get to walk out in the street. So there's a second Harvey Weinstein trial going on right now as we speak. It's just largely unheralded. Were you aware of this?
Actually, I thought he had died. I knew he was sick, and I know if they're actually going through with the trial. Last I heard of him, he was completely bedridden. So I just assumed he passed away from that.
No, he's still around, and his health notwithstanding, he could be like, in a hospital room on like they could do the trial the same way we do now. Like if I could do this and testify, so could he. And like he has to be present, but if he's medically unable to be there, there's other ways. Like he can watch it in his hospital room or something like that. Like the deal is they feel that the outcome will be the same, and most people who are asked felt the outcome would be the same. It was a mistake in the process, and they feel that like any reasonable jury is going to reach the same, conclusion. Look, if anything, he'll go from 500 years in prison to like 460 years in prison. You know what I mean? It's not going to be that big of a deal. He's still not going to ever be free on the streets. But I guess the New York legal system, kind of the most telling event this year would be New York jury refuses to stop trying Daniel Penny because they're so offended that he was charged the way he was charged and treated the way he was treated, that they found him innocent. And when the judge tried to dismiss the jury, they pulled some kind of legal gambit where they insisted on sitting and rendering judgment on the second set of facts. Did you remember this one?
No, I don't remember that too well.
The Daniel Penny jury. And this is another thing, I'll speak up for my hometown. Daniel Penny stopped the guy from going crazy on the subway. He was part of a multiracial coalition of good people who wanted to stop this crazy drug addict idiot from assaulting people. And by assaulting, I mean screaming in their faces, yelling, waving his hands, scaring women, being terrible on the subway. If you do this, someone's going to step up to you and someone's going to say something. You're only getting away with crazy stuff like that in the subway at like 4:30 in the morning in the farthest reaches of the subway systems, really far from a population. This guy did this, prime ridership time. He was being an asshole, and everyone got in his face. And the person who was the most alpha about stopping him from hurting people happens to be this guy, Daniel Penny. Penny, ex-Marine, ends up putting him in some kind of hold. The guy ends up dead, but obviously he's prime mover in his own death on a couple of levels. Some people want to say it's racist. Some people want to say it's wrong. Some people want to say he shouldn't have protected these people. People of every stripe, every gender, every affiliation stood up there on behalf of the guy and said that he was innocent and, but he had to protect himself. So the New York jury, first they cleared him, but then they insisted on going back to consider the other charges. And while they were doing that, they kind of attacked the reasons behind him being charged in the first place, because they themselves are kind of offended by the law. So that's the story with that one. Daniel, so the New York justice system sort of, like, I guess like all of our justice systems, constantly in doubt, constantly being second guessed, constantly changing. And that's the nature of how we do things here. I want to thank everyone who's been here. Hit those like and follow buttons. 14 is great. My personal goal for every show is 30 likes. So if you're here and you haven't hit the like and follow button, hit the like button at least. If you've already followed, that's cool. If you want to check out this channel, give it a try. If you don't like it, you can just quit. But you know what? I respect everyone who's given this channel a try. And while Gerb's away from the microphone, let me just address really quickly. Again, there's no penalty for going on another show. I have no real problems with people who want to go on at other times. This just so happens to have been extremely successful time slot. How it's going to work out for the rest of my life, we'll find out. But this afternoon time slot has been extremely good for me and gotten a good deal of views and consistently outperformed. I think that we're finding out maybe competition brings out the best in everyone, and I'm going to go when my audience is. So while the numbers keep bearing this out, I'm going to keep on showing up in the afternoons at 3 o'clock, and I'm going to have some fun with you guys. And I appreciate you guys being here with me. It was cool to have a show that was, for lack of a better term, unmolested. And I would just say, maybe it's time for us to accept that people can sort of live together without having to have deep, evil adversarialness. Like, if Padawannabe wants to go on someone else's panel show, like, I don't really have a problem with that. Padawannabe and I are still friends, and, we still have a lot of the same friends. So that's not a big deal. It's not really about the pundits, although I would say, based on my experience with Comic Relief, I wouldn't advise people to be friends with them. It didn't work out. It didn't work out bad. I would say this, though. We could probably coexist if you just calm down. I have not had the kind of bot problems I used to have since I've been on at this time, and that's a big part of it, too. And you know what? If you stand up and make yourself the face of what's going wrong for me over and over and over and champion it, and call for more, and then you define what happened to me as definitively happening to only bad people. I mean, what choice do I have but to fight back against that? That is some and you've made yourself the face of it. So if I've started showing up now to make a point, somebody sort of put that out there for an entire year. Germ, do you have X?
Yeah, I've been on X once or twice.
All right. Was I at the end of unrelenting incoming for an entire year at Comic Relief Crusaders' hands before I started shooting back about 10 weeks ago?
Yeah, there was quite a bit of incoming on there.
And it was unanswered, right? For a year. And I woke up one
we
day
were
and I
able
blew my stack. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Say
we
it.
were able
You say
to
it.
keep the lid on you for quite a while there, and then kaboom.
There was a little bit of internal complaining, but for the most part, like, once someone jumps out as hating you guys in life, don't read their X and don't watch their show. It's only going to make you crazy. If you dislike me, watching this is only going to make you like angrier, right? It's like, it's me with my friends being myself, and like, this is something you already dislike. So just live your life, do your thing. But as far as, the exposing a private chat and attributing it to me, I mean, you didn't really have a moral high ground to begin with on that one, but I don't know how many people are going to want to be in both camps. But at this point, quite honestly, after a year of it, there was an effect on my career and my life that had absolutely nothing to do with me, because he was making it a priority to be everywhere. And Jerem, you saw the persistent level of it, right? There was retribution even against Outlaw Bill.
Yeah, and Bill's a nice guy. I don't think anyone would
Should have
ever
been
wanna
left
go after
alone.
him.
Hey, the dead man is here. And hello, K-Shol. Hello, it's good to see you. Welcome to the show. Yeah, and like, Outlaw Bill is a nice guy. Just because he's my friend and I get along with him doesn't make him some kind of fair game target. And that the same thing goes for people who want, like, I don't know why the pundits who are friends with CRC came over into my chat and started yapping that one day. It didn't make a lot of sense, and I don't know what they were talking about. Like, I have nothing against them, and they're allowed to go do it. But, like, CRC is not going to tee off on me for an entire freaking year and it go unanswered. And, like, what we find is my reputation's tarnished, but he's, like, because he presides over, in my opinion, a channel of bots, and because he is just like taking everything and like screen capturing and recontextualizing everything I say to make it be like, you know, this gossipy thing, it gets a bit ridiculous. And like at one point I said I feel bad for anyone who has to be married to him, and like for weeks they just kept repeating that I went after his wife. Germ, is that going after someone's wife?
No, that's going after someone who's married to their wife.
Yeah, what you're saying is it must be a nightmare. If I said sounds like a nightmare to be married to someone like that, that is not a slight on your spouse at all, actually. You're saying that they're a very forgiving individual.
Yeah, it's their spouse is too good for them. That's definitely not a dig on the spouse.
Unless there's anything unclear, there's absolutely nothing wrong that I know of because I don't know her. Based on the retaliation, I'm guessing that he's married. I didn't know this stuff, but like the guy sounds like a nightmare to be married to, and he has come out that I mean, it's just not. So if anyone thinks that's true, let's just say she's, from all reports, is a nice enough lady. I feel sorry that she has a husband who spends his time attacking people and failing. He could always eliminate one of them and work on fixing the other, and you'd have twice as much time to work on succeeding. What do you think of that formula, right, Jerm?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So, you know what? With malice towards none and peace towards all, we're going to be entertaining people, and we're going to be around at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm going to do my show when I can get my panelists around. And anytime I get to work with my friend Jerm, it's just absolutely a pleasure. I try to never miss it. You know what? I try to never miss the cartoon show either. You have taught me so much in the animated show. What the hell's going on this week with your crazy cartoon show?
Well, this week we have we've actually started in the 80s, the classic Camp Candy.
I remember that show, that cartoon, because I was coming home banged up from being out all night, and it's pretty low quality.
Yeah,
it's on when he dies.
Yeah, that's about the time frame it was running on television.
John Candy dies for several reasons.
It is on John Candy.
It's his voice, right?
I believe so, yeah. It's definitely his likeness.
Here's the deal, guys. John Candy shows up. He's always a big guy, but he was physically imposingly tall. Like, what was John Candy, like 6'3", right? John Candy was really big.
Yeah, he was a big guy.
And the first time most people see him, aside from SCTV, the first movie he's in is Brewster's Millions. And in that, he's not too heavy yet, but he's really big and he's a thick, substantial guy. By the time, is it Wagons East, his last movie? Whatever it was with the guy from Friends. By the time he reaches his last movie, from the moment he becomes famous and gets to be a big star in that Tom Hanks mermaid movie, Splash, from that moment forward, John Candy never misses a chance to work, never misses a chance to smoke cigarettes, and never misses a chance to eat, would be the best way to put it. And by the end there, like 90s John Candy, like he's starting to get like big, but he's like, in the late 80s, he's comically big. He's big and he's funny looking. Like in like, what's the movie? Harry Crumb. In that movie, he's kind of fat and funny looking. But then he gets like even 150 pounds heavier than that. And the last few times we see John Candy, he's doing everything he can to make money. He's buying everything in sight. He owns a football team. And he's like 400 pounds at like 6'3". And he's just like, ha, 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 ha. And he's just like, seems like he's doing fine. And then just boom, his heart blows up. And we get the news out of nowhere. Like, I think that everyone was stunned that day. Only Phil Hartman was more shocking because of the circumstances.
Yeah.
Trying to save that half-made John Candy movie was also the worst mistake anyone ever made. We never see that movie. Was Matthew Perry the co-star?
I'm not sure about that. I'd have to look that up.
Was it Wagons East, his last movie? He's in like half of it. It's a real life version of the movie City Slickers, like when Curly just dies in the middle and they fake it from there and find his twin brother. It's pretty bad. The movie
Yeah, it
doesn't
was
work.
Wagons East.
Right, that's the name of the movie. Who's the co-stars? Is it Andy Dick and Matthew Perry?
Richard Lewis.
Ooh. Yeah, that's in trouble. Richard Lewis is a second leading comedian. He's funny, but you like a John Candy movie, he's got a different energy. He's John Candy sideman energy, in my opinion. Call me crazy.
Yeah, he was never a leading guy.
So they try. You know what? The only way they could have saved this is like ran into some more pilgrims and had an equally funny comedian like Bill Murray. The only path to save this movie is Bill Murray shows up.
Yeah, anyone but Richard Lewis.
Richard Lewis
was
is
not
funny in
funny.
his own right, but he's like, yeah, he's the second person in the movie. Like, you know what Richard Lewis is good for? And I don't know if this is his role. I can't remember. But if you wanted to cast a Sheriff of Nottingham in a Men in Tights kind of movie, Richard Lewis is fucking perfect for that. Am I
Not too
right?
bad.
Or wait, right? I mean, he's got that kind of thing going on.
Yeah, he's not. He's like third tier in the movie. He's either the hero's best friend or the villain's lackey.
That's true. And welcome everybody. If you're just getting here, can you do me a favor? My personal goal is to try to get to 30 likes. It's if you could help me out with that one, I would really appreciate it. If you're coming through later and I've already hit 30, my goal is to exceed that. So, don't let anything stop you from hitting that. Welcome. And, if you tweet out that we're live off the browsers, people coming through later also thinking about leaving me a comment, do that too. Just to recap for you off today's script, we kind of reviewed the fact that there's a new J.J. Abrams show coming out called Duster, and it's got the stink on it already. A violent comedy set in the 70s. That just sounds like two forms of a shell game already, right? We're going to confuse people by making it a violent comedy, and then we'll confuse people yet again by making it be in the 70s because people like that aesthetic.
I don't think people actually like that aesthetic. They like
They
the
don't want to
idea,
live in it.
but when you see it, it gets kind of annoying.
It's J.J. Abrams again, right? It's like derivative thing on top of derivative thing. The violent comedy, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and set in the 70s. Like, everything's now set in the 70s, the early 70s. I don't know, was it the Quentin Tarantino movie takes place in 1970 because that's about the Manson family murders that happened in 69 and 70. So that's nailed at the time. We know how he is with history. I guess the next thing I'd say is we found out that Taylor Sheridan is committed to another show with Brandon Sklenner. I just found that one out today. I'm pretty excited about that. Details are sketchy, but as long as he plays a fairly stoic, tough ladies' man who beats the shit out of people, I'm down for watching Brandon Sklenner in a TV show. I'll see where it goes. What do you think, Graham?
Yeah, he did great work in 1923. Let's see where he goes from there.
I wonder what they'll do with Landman. Got moved up to November 2025. Are you ready for the Landman discussions, sir?
Oh yeah, that's going to be pretty good. I was a fan of the first season. We see how well they do with season 2.
The first season, I got about halfway through it before life got cut. Stop giving this man work. Richard Lewis was Prince John in Men in Tights. He was. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I knew I remembered it for a reason. It's like, that movie is it's not Mel Brooks' best, but it is a very funny movie. It is pretty fun. It's the best Patrick Stewart movie. Put it to you like that. Well, no, actually Excalibur is the best Patrick Stewart movie. It's the best intentional Patrick Stewart comedy. So we talked, stop giving J.J. Abrams work. And then we also talked about the new ad policy for YouTube. Anybody who's seen this, do me a favor, throw a comment up in there now, or let me know in the comments later if you're coming through. Has YouTube rolled out new ads baked into half the video that you can't get rid of? Unskippable ads? That has been an experience that a couple of people have had, But I don't know if that's someone selling internal advertising or using that QVC code to redirect you to more of their own content, or if it is the ad. I guess it really depends on context, and maybe it says ad while the ad runs. I think that has to happen, but new YouTube stuff going on. I wonder how much of a game changer it's going to be. I opted out of the new advertising policy, and I think I'm going to benefit from it. Jerm, I don't know. What do you think of this? They say it's going to be putting more money in the creators' pockets. By more money, I think $3 to $6.
Yeah, $3 to $3.50.
Here's the deal, guys. When you give us a super chat or buy memberships or a sticker, we get the majority of that. But when we make a video, and when I make a video, it's for pure love of the subject matter and for pure love of the art form. When we make a video, they get most of that. It's flipped around. So if I generate like $30 for YouTube with my uploaded video and they love me when I do that, I get like $2 or $3. But when you guys donate, it's the other way around. That's how that works from the creator's point of view. The thing is that nothing puts on subscribers and nothing legitimizes the channel like making the video essays. Here's why they're on hold for the moment. And this was one of our other stories that we'll reiterate. And Jerm and I, we've had a couple minutes to think about this one. We have been seeing videos that are now using a lot of what's called Creative Commons, or someone is actually going outside with their own video camera and just sort of taking video around like what looks to be like a Florida or SoCal development of like a fountain, an unremarkable one, of like ducks swimming, of like just a tree, of just some topiaries. Nothing overly great, but the thing is that you can film it yourself while you give your little talk about why Disney stock is down, or, you know, the majority of your movie review. And we're not sure yet, but we've seen a couple of people lose their channels over it. So with the video essays, we wonder if some people are getting maybe in trouble for quote unquote reuse content, which has not yet been defined that I can find out.
Yeah, it's pretty troubling. And we don't really know where all this is coming from. If this is studios wanting to push it, or as YouTube came to this brilliant idea all on their lonesome.
It seems like the very first very big event with the new YouTube policies started with Critical Drinker getting content claimed by HBO for a couple of days in what would seem to be backfiring spite, because when you're as big as the drinker and you hold something back, you create a story. And then, like, I know that, like, when I went to watch it, I wanted to, like, let me see this Critical Drinker video that got held back. I realized that I was one of the 15,000 who'd already seen it.
And they need to realize, YouTube, you're not the only game in town. If you're going to limit creators, everyone is on other platforms as well. So it's going to get seen. You might as well want it seen on your platform.
Good example. Our good friend Snowdub, friend of the channel, friend of ours. Great guy, makes great stuff. He did a collection of stuff that I'm sure Germ condemns this outright. What did you think of the Liberal Tears by Snowdub?
Great.
Hilarious, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. You said it.
Very great work by Snowdub. Generally great work by Snowdub. Yeah.
Snowdub is always doing a great job. He's an innovator. He's doing a great job. We take our hat off to Snowdub. And also, we mostly leave the news to people like Snowdub. But like Snowdub's Liberal Tears, that was getting thousands and thousands of views. That's now only on Rumble. And it's doing fine over there. Snowdub will take it. And Snowdub's still doing fine. I will say the way he was singled out and given trouble for what he did was particularly upsetting, because what happened was people had made and posted these videos. So it's kind of like when I make this video, people do have within reason certain right to, you know, critique it. You know, they have fair use of, you know, certain amount of it, and, you know, whatever happens, happens. And there might be somewhere some modern Star Trek loving guy who's just like, you know, in the corner, like, like, hi, I'm Commodore Jerkoff, and here are these people that I really don't like, Teague and Germ. So Commodore says that let's let Teague talk for a minute. So anyway, like, it's another strong weapon. See, he's a real troll. Like, someone might be doing that, and there's only just so much I can do about it. If you do it wrong and you're stealing from me, well, I mean, don't steal from me, but you get what I'm saying. So it's kind of like saying, like, after my broadcast is broadcast, you have to like it. You don't. You have your freedom of will. So this is like saying, you're going to keep that car I sold you the color that I painted it. So these people recorded their reactions. In a lot of cases, it was to the results of the election, and they were absolutely a spectacle, and they wanted everyone to see it. And the way copyright law mostly seems to work, and I'm no lawyer, but this is the way my experience has been. If you go to a baseball game, Major League Baseball owns the baseball. In fact, the name of the commissioner is on the ball. Is it not, Germ?
Last time I checked.
Right. If that ball gets hit into the stands and it's a home run and someone catches it, does the player get to keep the ball?
Not normally, no.
He can ask
Baseball.
the fan to trade for it. You can offer a signed T-shirt. You can offer him a bat. You can give him something of value, and it's like, I'd like my home run ball back, but you can have this, right? But it's not yours. You wanted to play baseball, and the price of that is sometimes you hit one out of the park, right?
Yeah, baseball learned their lesson after the strike.
Well, copyright law uses that as their example, right? So, like, once you put your image onto something, once you put your voice onto something, as long as it's not substantially altered, you have a right. You don't have any ownership over it anymore. It's like a baseball leaving the park. So you wanted to have your opinion about the election. You took a swing at it. You made good contact. It left the park. But the thing is, Snowdub caught it. And now you're saying that you deserve it back because you don't like Snowdub. Just because Snowdub came to see the other team and he threw your home run ball back on the field and became like a local celebrity over it, you want him punished. That's not how it works. You gave up your right to the exclusivity of that image and those words. Snowdub took it, repackaged it, and commented on it, labeled it for what he saw it as. People found it hilarious and found it entertaining, and they went and watched it in droves and droves and droves. This is some of the most brilliant reuse of material I've ever seen. And it was so funny. It was so funny. Germ, some of the best reactions we've seen. People just screaming. Destroying some of the... Like, basically, like, typical liberal tears reactions. Someone usually destroyed some of their own stuff in a rage. It was usually infantile. And, Snowdub, he did a lot of them. Some, whenever you have that many, some are better than others. But at their best, it was like somebody really just showing their deep own inner hypocrisy, having a for me, not for thee rant, and maybe setting themselves back a few $100 or $1,000 by, like, I don't know, smashing their phone or smashing their TV, right? It's like crying and screaming featured heavily, and just basically what people call TDS.
Yeah. And he actually showed some of the more tamer ones because I've seen some stuff out there that were not fit for the internet.
Right now, I would say, like, my thought is this. I don't really know what's going on in this country as far as what will happen in the midterms. My initial thought about 4 weeks ago was that the Republicans would just win them for the first time in history. The in-power party would do well in the midterms. But I'm starting to see them fight a little bit. And I'm like, the first coherent stuff, I'm not saying I like it, but the first coherency since the election starting to show up on the left a little bit. But right now, there's a few pettit people. And by pettit, I mean they have their ideologies and they just don't, like, no one's come to the forefront. There's a few pettit ideologues over on the left trying to become leader. And they don't exactly have the same vision. They're going to have to fight it out. And we don't know, like, who's going to win that one, do we?
No, but it's probably going to be the donkey.
As far as what, the Democratic Party?
No, the one that used to be your elected official.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll stay away from. We'll be careful with that one. I don't know what it says for them that she's probably the most appealing to their audience and has the most eloquent for them stuff to say. Like when The objectionable thing we saw with, is it Ariana Presley, House of Representatives member? She was saying that we needed reparations now, and this was being portrayed as contemporary video. She's only had the bald look for about 3 years, so it's contemporary enough, maybe 5, but it's recent enough because she had a few terms before she came out about this problem. That's not something I'm going to make fun of. That could happen to anybody. But like I saw from her what looked to be like an unhinged speech that looked more like a Joy Reid rant to start the show, where she was saying, reparations now. Did you see this crazy speech?
Yeah, I've seen that actually several times from
Is it
a
contemporary?
lot of them. Or yes, it's maybe a year, unless she
It's
did
a
it
year
again.
ago. Well, if she should shut up about it. If it's a year old, people should stop rehashing it. But I will say this: if you're that big, please don't wear a purple dress. Grimace, am I right?
Yep.
Grimace. But it was a pretty harsh speech, and she looked pretty like wired up, angry, and out of it as far as the reality of what she was saying. And it was kind of unbecoming a elected official, and kind of unbecoming the trust of the people. I was sort of sad that anyone in office would act that way, but that one, if it's contemporary, is not going to help anything. But compare her to that. Like, you got that. She's one of the ideologues, by the way, trying to be pennant leader of the left. Compared to her, AOC is actually, now you understand. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is kind of king, or the one-eyed woman in this case.
Yeah. I'd say better her than the demented soccer mom from hell, which is my senator, who is trying to take over the leadership of the Senate.
Who's your senator? I don't even know her name.
Patty Murray.
Never heard of her.
Uh,
Oh wait, that's the
imagine-
person that's a holy shit. That's a senator. I thought that you were in a fight with someone that like you were in high school with or lived in your neighborhood. That's pretty personal. That conversation.
Yeah, imagine a middle school teacher from hell who has never done anything with her life.
So Thunderbolts.
Yeah. Only 100 times uglier. She looks like the Wicked Witch of the East.
Does Julia Louis-Dreyfus justify use of the term gilf, grandmother? I'd like to fuck.
Compared to Patty Murray, yeah.
She's older than Ming-Na Wen, and she looks a little bit young. I guess they're the same age. How old is Ming-Na Wen now? She was 58 in Book of Boba Fett. That's a while ago now, right?
Yeah,
Whew.
that's
2021? A world of far better Star Wars ago. And that was confirmation that one season of The Mandalorian that wasn't so good wasn't a slip, and that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wasn't just one bad project, and that the several attempts at Agent Carter weren't just flukes. It was that these people were outright bad at TV.
wow, she was
Not
born in
sure-
63.
Who?
Ming-Na Wen was born in 63.
163. So she's now 62?
Yep.
Wow. So yeah. Happy birthday, Ming-Na Wen. That's crazy. She's from Pittsburgh, though. She's an American. So go Ming-Na Wen. We're fans. I guess. I mean, I did not
Well,
like
yeah.
her in that show, but I guess she's a gilf, right? Dateable
Yeah,
grandmother.
she wasn't too bad in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
In that show jumped the shark like pretty fast, but it became unredeemable with the Patton Oswalt addition to the cast.
Yeah, Patton Oswalt kind of spoils everything he's near.
When Patton Oswalt showed up in the show, I'm like, I may have lost patience for this. And then all of a sudden, before the end of the episode, we found out that they had infinite Patton Oswalts, and I'm like, yeah, no, multiple Patton Oswalts. The hell with this. And that's like a world ago now. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. might be a more quality show than anything we've gotten from from Disney Plus. This Ironheart show really does look pretty terrible. We watched the trailer last night. We went through it. She is just too cool to be even impressed by the fact that she might die. She's the absolute contempt for the laws of physics. She strips a live wire with her teeth, Germ.
I've tried that. The movie's over at that point.
I would say if only. And I guess Sacha Baron Cohen is going to be the bad guy in that one. But that's because he's the only white cast member. That's why I'm guessing it.
I can't say a good word about him.
Borat was funny, but that was like what, 20 years ago. And I mean, on other news, the key witness is still missing from the Diddy trial, man. No update to this one. I'm just going to scan to the bottom of the article to see if there's any corrections. There are no links. The only update on this one is that, today, guys. Today in New York, R&B singer Cassie delved further into text messages with her former boyfriend Sean P. Diddy Combs in a cross-examination Friday in the music mogul's sex trafficking. This thing is just totally gross. The only good news is, win or lose, it's probably going to be banned from society, is the good news with P. Diddy. If only we could get Kanye banned from society. We'll circle back on this one. That thought that Fat Steven had, and Fat Steven, great guy, fun. He took an outlier stance on this one. He was willing to say that, forget for a minute how awful it is. The Kanye how awful what he's saying is. The Kanye song was rather fascinating, and my admission was, for about a minute and a half, you kind of are hypnotized. But Jerem, have you heard the song?
No, I don't really listen to Kanye much anymore.
There's no describing it, guys. This is like 1991 space movie kind of territory as far as what's going on in the Kanye song. But it's just, the video is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen, and the song is just real. Kanye really just get some therapy. He is just a case for therapy. Anyway. J.J. Abrams, stay away from that show. The trailers, we decided that probably Superman is worse because no one cares. And I guess the last thing we'll say is stay away from that. Anything J.J. Abrams, his Batman thing was terrible. And I guess Batman, we'll see where it lands. Any rate, what are you doing next, Jerm? Back on Saturday?
Yeah, tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Pacific time, Saturday morning cartoons. We'll be watching Camp Candy.
All right. Thank you.
And this Monday,
I might be there.
Monday monster movie, Godzilla Raids Again.
Cool. All right. Well, hey, that we've gotten off the show cleanly and even went a little bit long. Fun to have all you guys by. Fun to do a lot of hanging out. For my part, I'm going to be back Saturday night at 9:45. I hope Germ will be there. We find out that one during the cartoon show. And this week, we've got an episode of Star Trek called Regeneration, this one. And in my opinion, and Germ and I kind of, we're not too far apart on this one. Germ might be inclined to agree. Throws First Contact into question deeply.
It doesn't help.
In the episode of Enterprise we're going to watch this week, we have the Borg. So tune in on Saturday night. You'll love it. It'll be great stuff. I want to thank everybody who came by. We had the Dead Man, Kay Shaw. Thank you for coming by and with the key info. Buddy Hepburn, my mod, thank you so much. I want to thank you. Krimlon was here. It was great to have you guys by. Intimate show today, Lombardi 1969. Mark Harkness was here. Wes Cagle was here for a while. RRTNZ came by, and thank you so much for that great donation. This show is brought to you by the genius of Gene Roddenberry and the love of and financial support of people like yourselves, including RRTNZ. The Oldest Gamer was here for a bit. We saw our friend, The Oldest Gamer, and we found out that, in fact, Gaelic, Welsh is a Brythonic language, and that Gaelic is a different thing. But I came pretty close, and we spoke the charm of making, and we saw Lombardi 1969. Good night, good afternoon, and have a good weekend to everyone who is here. I thank all of you for being around. Have a great night. I probably will be back in some shape, or guys, who knows when you'll see Admiral next, but definitely tomorrow at 9:45. And Jerm, I feel like watching Sydney Sweeney. How about you?
It's always a good time for Sydney.
Sydney Sweeney coming up next. You guys are the best, and we will see you, like I said, on Saturday night. I can't wait to dig into Regeneration, where we will take a swap at the original PNG movie First Contact, and question whether that thing should really be allowed to, if they can exist together. My opinion is Enterprise is hostile to it. Anyway, guys, thanks a lot. It's been a great show. Hit those like and follows. I thank you so much. You guys are the very best in the best community out there, and I will see you tomorrow.